Hey dreamers, tonight we journey beyond every boundary of legend, into the heart of the Greek underworld, the mysterious and magnificent realm ruled by Hades. Together we'll wander paths that few mortals have ever seen, uncover wonders hidden from the eyes of the living, and discover what truly lies beneath the surface of death. But what secrets wait in the Elysian fields, and who finds rest in its eternal gardens? What torments unfold in the dark pits of Tartarus, and who is condemned to never escape its depths? Why does the river Lethe erase every memory, and what happens if you choose to drink from its waters? As you stand at the edge of the mortal world, feel a gentle mist swirl around your ankles, and the air pours in thoughtful silence. Before you, a landscape stretches in eternal dusk, a place where silver light glows without source, illuminating mysteries old as time. If these stories truly help you relax, feel free to leave a gentle like. If you'd like, you're welcome to share in the comments where you're listening from and what time it is for you now. Tonight, you're among fellow dreamers, voyagers at the threshold of the unknown. This eternal dusk is your gateway to the underworld, and despite what ancient fears might suggest, you find nothing to dread in this moment. Instead, you're filled with a deep curiosity and a quiet anticipation. The ancient Greeks understood, perhaps better than we do today, that death and the afterlife were not meant to frighten, but to reveal the mysteries of transformation, justice, and the endless possibilities that come after life's end. You begin to walk forward, your footsteps strangely silent against the earth that feels solid yet softly yielding, like cloud and stone woven together. Each step draws you deeper into a twilight world where landscapes flow and shift with the unpredictable logic of dreams. You notice how, as you move, the realm around you seems both familiar and enchanted, constantly hinting that something extraordinary lies just beyond your reach. To your left you spot ancient olive trees, orderly and serene, their silver-green leaves catching light even though no breeze stirs. These trees aren't merely old, they are timeless, their roots entwined with the very beginnings of human journeys after death. Knowing they've watched countless souls cross this threshold, you feel a sense of reverence for their silent, patient wisdom. You follow the sloping path downward, pulled by an intrigue that grows with every step. Mist begins to gather at your ankles, thickening into clouds that swirl before you and reveal snippets of dreamlike geography ahead. What new depths will you discover as you journey on? In the distance you hear flowing water, deeper and richer than any sound from the world above. Its resonance carries stories older than history, and as you approach, you realize the sound separates into 5 distinct voices, each belonging to one of the rivers that define this realm. Your first encounter is with a vast stream as black and polished as obsidian. The surface doesn't reflect the sky, but instead draws you into endless depths. This is Charon, the river of sorrow, which the Greeks saw as both the keeper of pain and the agent of release. You pause by its shore, sensing a surprising calm within the slow, deliberate current. Here, sorrow is not accumulated but set free. As you watch, every heartbreak and loss seems to dissolve into the gentle flow of water, urging you to let go of what you once carried. Delicate flowers grow along the bank, pale asphodels that glow against the dim landscape. These ghostly blooms thrive on the edge, suspended between grief and peace, and you reach down to touch one, finding its warmth a small comfort in the midst of the unknown. As you trail beside the Charon, the rhythmic splash of oars draws your attention. Through the mist you glimpse a figure emerging, a legend among mortals, yet far different from the skeletal boatman you might expect. This is Charon, the ferryman of the dead, whose true nature reveals that even myths can be gentler than we imagine. But here is the secret we've all misunderstood. You don't pay him to cross the river. He is the one who assesses what you have to offer. That single coin hides a truth far more profound than simple payment. But to understand that truth, you must first understand the world he is bringing you into. So for now, let us continue our journey across these waters. We will return to Charon's great secret, and when we do, its full meaning will finally be clear. Charon appears as a man of indeterminate age, his hair silver white and his face bearing the kind of deep lines that come from eons of patient service, rather than hardship. His eyes hold a kindness that surprises you, and when he speaks, his voice carries the warm authority of someone who has guided countless souls through their most important transition. "Welcome, traveller," he says, his boat gliding silently to the shore beside you. "I am Charon, and I've been expecting you. Your journey through the underworld requires passage across these waters, and I am honoured to be your guide." His boat is not the rough-hewn craft of legend, but something far more elegant. Carved from what appears to be a single piece of dark wood, its surface worn smooth by countless journeys. Gentle lights glow along its rails, providing illumination that feels warm and welcoming rather than mysterious. You step aboard, and the boat barely rocks beneath your weight. Charon pushes off from the shore with a pole that seems to be carved from the same ancient wood as his vessel, and you begin to glide across the dark waters of the Acheron. "Tell me," Charon says as he guides the boat through the gentle current, "have you ever wondered why the living fear this place so much? In all my eons of service, I've yet to ferry a soul who wasn't surprised by how peaceful this journey actually is." The observation makes you smile. There's something charmingly matter-of-fact about Charon's approach to what mortals consider the ultimate mystery. He's clearly put considerable thought into the peculiar reactions of the living to the reality of death. As the boat moves deeper into the river, you begin to see other waters converging with the Acheron. To your right, a river of brilliant blue flows parallel to your course. This is the Cocytus, the river of lamentation. But rather than hearing wails and cries, you're surprised to discover that the sound it makes is more like a gentle chorus of voices sharing their stories. "The Cocytus carries more than just sorrow," Charon explains, following your gaze. "It holds every word of love ever spoken, every song ever sung, every story ever told. The Greeks named it for lamentation, but they understood that tears can be shed for joy as easily as for grief. Honestly, which river in the underworld do you think would be the most difficult to cross? For me, it has to be the Lethe. The idea of forgetting everything that made you who you are seems far more challenging than facing sorrow or pain. On your left, another river catches your attention, this one flowing with water that seems to shimmer and dance with its own inner light. The current moves faster here, and occasionally you catch glimpses of images in its depths. Faces, places, moments in time that flash by too quickly to fully comprehend. "Ah, you're looking at the Lethe," Charon observes, "the river of forgetfulness." Many souls choose to drink from its waters before continuing their journey. It helps them release the weight of mortal memory and embrace whatever comes next with a clean slate. The concept fascinates you. As you watch the glittering waters of forgetfulness flow past, you realize that the choice to forget is always just that, a choice. The river doesn't force anyone to drink. It simply offers the option to those who find the burden of memory too heavy to carry into their next phase of existence. Ahead, you can see where a fourth river joins the convergence, this one flowing with what appears to be liquid fire. But as you draw closer, you realize the flames don't burn. Instead, they dance and flicker with a warmth that feels purifying rather than destructive. "The Phlegethon," Charon says with obvious pride. "The river of fire. It cleanses rather than destroys, preparing souls for their time in whichever region of the underworld they're destined for. Watch how the flames respond to different souls." As if summoned by his words, you see other boats in the distance, each carrying their own passengers. The flames of the Phlegethon seem to dance differently around each vessel, sometimes burning bright and energetic, other times settling into a gentle meditative glow. The river appears to customize its cleansing fire based on each soul's individual needs. Finally, ahead and to your left, you see the fifth and most famous of the underworld's rivers, the Styx. Even from a distance, you can tell this waterway is different from the others. It flows with a darkness so complete it seems to absorb light rather than reflect it. The water moves with an authority that speaks of unbreakable oaths and cosmic law. "The Styx," Charon says with notable respect in his voice, "the river by which even the gods swear their most binding oaths. It circles the entire underworld 9 times, creating an unbreachable barrier between this realm and the world above. Every drop of that water holds the weight of absolute truth. Your boat glides closer to where all 5 rivers converge into a magnificent delta. The waters don't mix chaotically, but flow together in patterns that seem to follow some cosmic design. Channels of sorrow weave between streams of forgetfulness, while ribbons of fire dance around currents of lamentation, all held in balance by the authoritative presence of the oath-binding Styx. "This is where every soul must make their first choice," Charon explains as he guides the boat into calmer waters near the convergence. Some drink from the Lethe to forget their mortal lives. Others choose the Cocytus to carry their stories forward. Still others seek purification in the flames of the Phlegethon. The choice reveals much about what a soul hopes to find in the afterlife. You contemplate this as the boat comes to rest at a dock that appears to be carved from the same dark stone that lines the riverbanks. As you step onto the solid ground, you feel a subtle shift in the air around you. You've crossed the first threshold into the true underworld. Before you rises a sight that takes your breath away. The gates of Hades stretch upward into the twilight sky, massive beyond mortal comprehension, yet somehow not intimidating. They're wrought from what appears to be black iron, but the metal gleams with veins of silver that pulse gently like a slow heartbeat. Intricate designs cover every surface, images of souls at peace, heroes in their glory, and scenes of justice being served. Beautiful work, isn't it? Charon says, following your gaze. People always expect the gates of the underworld to be forbidding, but Hades took great care in their design. After all, this is the entrance to his eternal realm. Why wouldn't he want it to be magnificent? Standing before these gates, however, is a presence that immediately draws your attention. Even prepared by countless retellings of the myth, your first sight of Cerberus is startling, not for its fearsome appearance, but for its unexpected nobility. The great hound of Hades is indeed massive, with 3 heads that turn to regard you with intelligent, ancient eyes. But there's nothing savage or threatening about his demeanor. Instead, he radiates the calm authority of a being who has faithfully performed his duty for millennia. His fur is deep black, shot through with veins of silver that match the gates behind him, and each of his 3 faces bears a different expression, one alert and watchful, one thoughtful and considering, and one that might almost be described as gently amused. "Cerberus," Charon says with obvious affection, "meet our visitor. They've come to explore every region of our realm." The great dog's 3 heads all focus on you simultaneously, and you feel the weight of his ancient wisdom in that gaze. Then, to your surprise, his tail begins to wag, a sound like distant thunder that seems to resonate through the ground beneath your feet. "He likes you," Charon observes with evident pleasure. "Cerberus has an excellent sense for the character of souls. His approval is not given lightly." You approach the magnificent guardian, and to your amazement, he lowers his great heads to allow you to stroke his fur. It's surprisingly soft, with a warmth that speaks of life and contentment rather than the cold of death. As you pet him, you can feel the steady rhythm of his breathing, 3 sets of lungs working in perfect synchronization. Most people don't realize that Cerberus isn't here to keep souls out, Charon mentions, as you continue your interaction with the great hound. He's here to ensure that those who enter do so for the right reasons, and that those who belong here don't leave before their time. He's less a guard dog than a very discerning host. The concept makes perfect sense as you look into Cerberus's eyes. There's no malice there, no desire to harm, only a deep commitment to maintaining the proper order of things. He ensures that the living don't stumble into the underworld by accident, and that the dead don't try to return before they've completed their journey of understanding. Behind the great hound, the gates of Hades stand open, revealing a path that leads deeper into the realm. The way forward is paved with smooth stones that seem to glow with their own inner light, creating a gentle illumination that makes the journey ahead feel inviting rather than ominous. "This is where I leave you," Charon says, placing a gentle hand on your shoulder. "My duty is to ferry souls across the waters, but from here you must walk your own path. Don't worry, though, the underworld has its own ways of guiding visitors where they need to go." You thank the ancient ferryman for his kindness and wisdom, then turn to face the open gates. Cerberus, having given his approval, steps aside to allow you passage. As you walk through the magnificent entrance, you hear his 3 voices raised in what might be the most haunting and beautiful sound you've ever heard, a harmony that seems to welcome you into the mysteries that lie ahead. The path beyond the gates leads into a region that ancient writers called Erebus, the twilight zone between the world of the living and the deeper realms of the dead. Here, The light is soft and diffused, coming from no single source but seeming to emanate from the very air itself. The landscape around you is both familiar and otherworldly. Rolling hills covered in grass that grows in shades of silver and pale blue, forests of trees that seem to be made of crystallized moonlight, and streams that flow with water so clear it's like liquid crystal. This is where souls first adjust to their new existence, and you can see why the ancient Greeks considered it a place of transition rather than destination. Everything here has a dreamlike quality that makes it feel like a gentle bridge between one state of being and another. As you walk deeper into Erebus, you begin to encounter other inhabitants of this realm. Spirits move through the landscape with a grace that speaks of beings who have learned to exist without the weight of physical form. They nod to you in greeting, their faces bearing expressions of peaceful curiosity. Some gather in small groups, engaged in conversations that seem to span centuries. Others walk alone, contemplating mysteries that only those who have crossed the threshold between life and death can understand. You notice that each spirit glows with a soft light that seems to come from within, not the harsh brightness of electrical illumination, but something warmer and more organic. It reminds you of the gentle phosphorescence you sometimes see in ocean waters at night, or the subtle glow of fireflies in a summer meadow. The path you're following begins to branch, and you realize you've reached a crossroads of sorts. A sign stands here, carved from what appears to be polished obsidian, with directions etched in letters that somehow you can read, despite never having seen this script before. The writing seems to shift and adapt, presenting itself in whatever language you need to understand it. To the left, the sign indicates the way to the Asphodel Meadows, the vast region where the majority of souls spend their afterlife. Straight ahead lies the path to the palace of Hades and Persephone, where the rulers of this realm hold court and the great judges of the dead deliberate over the fates of souls. To the right, two paths diverge, one leading upward toward what the sign identifies as Elysium, and another leading downward toward the deep regions of Tartarus. You decide to begin with the Asphodel Meadows, curious to see how the majority of souls spend their eternal existence. The path to the left takes you through a landscape that gradually shifts from the crystalline beauty of Erebus to something more earthly and familiar. Rolling meadows stretch out before you, covered in the pale flowers that give this region its name. The asphodels here grow in abundance, their ghostly white blooms nodding gently in a breeze that you can feel, but that seems to come from everywhere and nowhere at once. The flowers themselves are beautiful in their simplicity, each bloom perfect in its pale elegance, neither fully alive nor fully dead, but something peacefully in between. What surprises you most about the Asphodel Meadows is how content everything feels here. You had expected this to be a region of sadness or regret. After all, the ancient descriptions often portrayed it as a place of monotony and meaninglessness. But walking among these endless fields, you sense something quite different. The souls you encounter here move with a gentle purposelessness that seems more like meditation than boredom. They wander the meadows in small groups or alone, some picking the eternal flowers, others simply walking and contemplating. When you stop to speak with them, you're surprised by how peaceful they seem. "I spent my mortal life constantly rushing," one spirit tells you, her form glowing softly as she bends to examine an asphodel bloom. Always worried about the next task, the next problem, the next crisis. Here, I've learned what it means to simply exist without the pressure of constant doing. Another soul, this one gathering flowers into a bouquet that seems to reform itself each time he completes it, shares a different perspective. In life, I was always searching for meaning, always trying to find my purpose. Here, I've discovered that sometimes the meaning is simply in the searching itself, and the purpose is in the peace of acceptance. These conversations reveal something profound about the Asphodel Meadows that the ancient descriptions missed. This isn't a place of punishment or even neutrality. It's a place of gentle healing, where souls learn to exist without the anxieties and pressures that define their mortal existence. As you walk deeper into the meadows, you begin to notice variations in the landscape. Some areas are filled with souls who seem to be engaged in quiet activities, tending gardens that grow flowers unknown in the mortal world, creating art from materials that shimmer and change as they work with them, or engaged in conversations that appear to have been going on for centuries without ever becoming tiresome. In one clearing, you discover a group of spirits gathered around what appears to be a storyteller. The tale being told shifts and changes as different listeners contribute their own memories and perspectives, creating a narrative that's constantly evolving. You realize you're witnessing something like a collective autobiography of human experience, stories being shared, refined, and woven together into something greater than any individual tale. The storyteller notices your presence and gestures for you to join the circle. Every soul has stories, she says, her voice carrying the musical quality that seemed common among the spirits here. In the mortal world, most stories die with their tellers. Here, they become part of something eternal. You listen as tales of love and loss, triumph and tragedy, ordinary moments and extraordinary events flow together into a tapestry of human experience. Each story seems to illuminate aspects of the others, creating connections and meanings that weren't apparent when the events were first lived. Which aspect of the afterlife do you find most intriguing? For me, it has to be this idea of shared stories and collective memory. The thought that our experiences become part of a greater narrative is both comforting and inspiring. After spending time with the storytellers, you continue your exploration of the Asphodel Meadows. The region seems to extend infinitely in all directions, with landscapes that shift subtly to accommodate the preferences and needs of different souls. Some areas are filled with the familiar, meadows and forests that echo beloved places from the mortal world. Others contain wonders that exist nowhere else. Gardens where flowers bloom in impossible colours, streams that flow upward through the air, trees that bear fruit made of crystallized music. You encounter souls engaged in every conceivable activity. Some have formed communities, building homes from materials that seem to grow from their intentions rather than being constructed in any traditional sense. Others prefer solitude, finding peaceful spots where they can contemplate existence without interruption. Many are engaged in pursuits that were impossible in the mortal world, learning skills that take eternal lifetimes to master, exploring philosophical questions that have no final answers, or simply experiencing the profound peace that comes from existing without the pressure of time. What strikes you most about all of these souls is their contentment. This isn't the artificial happiness of denial or delusion, but the deep satisfaction that comes from finally understanding their place in the grand scheme of existence. They've learned that not every life needs to be heroic or exceptional to have meaning, and that there's profound value in simply having been human. As you prepare to leave the Asphodel Meadows and explore other regions of the underworld, you feel a deep appreciation for what you've witnessed here. The ancient Greeks may have portrayed this as a place of neutral existence, but you've seen it revealed as something far more profound, a realm of gentle healing and peaceful acceptance, where the vast majority of human souls find exactly what they need to complete their journey of understanding. The path leading away from the Asphodel Meadows takes you through another transitional landscape, this one more dramatic than the gentle shifts you experienced earlier. The ground begins to rise, and the asphodels give way to different flowers, still pale, but now shot through with veins of gold that seem to pulse with their own inner light. You're approaching Elysium, the paradise reserved for heroes and the exceptionally virtuous, and even the approach to this region radiates a sense of magnificence. The air itself seems to shimmer with possibility, and you can hear what sounds like distant music, not any single melody, but a harmony of countless voices and instruments creating something indescribably beautiful. As you crest a hill, the full glory of the Elysian field spreads out before you, and the sight takes your breath away. This is paradise, as the ancient Greeks imagined it, not a place of cloudy harps and golden streets, but a realm where every natural wonder has been perfected and enhanced beyond mortal possibility. Rolling hills covered in grass that seems to be spun from emerald silk stretch to a horizon that glows with perpetual golden light. Streams of crystal-clear water wind through the landscape, sometimes flowing conventionally through channels carved in the earth, other times defying gravity to spiral through the air in impossible helixes of liquid light. Trees grow here that seem to combine the best features of every species that ever existed: massive oaks with leaves of silver and gold, fruit trees bearing produce that glows with its own inner radiance, flowering trees that bloom in cascades of colors that have no names in mortal tongues. The souls you encounter in Elysium are immediately recognizable as heroes, though not always the ones you might expect. Yes, there are great warriors whose deeds were sung by poets, legendary kings whose wisdom shaped civilizations, and mythic figures whose stories became the foundation of entire cultures. But there are also souls whose heroism took different forms. Mothers who sacrificed everything for their children, healers who gave their lives to save others, teachers who dedicated themselves to spreading knowledge, artists whose works brought beauty into a world that desperately needed it. Each of these souls glows with a light that's distinctly their own, their heroic nature having been refined and purified until it shines like a beacon. But what surprises you most is how approachable they all seem. Despite their legendary status, they greet you with warmth and curiosity rather than distance or pride. You find yourself in conversation with a figure who introduces herself simply as Helen. It takes you a moment to realize you're speaking with Helen of Troy, the woman whose beauty was said to have launched 1,000 ships. But the being before you radiates a beauty that goes far beyond the physical. This is beauty of spirit, of wisdom earned through experience, of understanding that has transformed suffering into compassion. People always focus on the war, she says with gentle amusement, as if that was all there was to my story. But here in Elysium, we see the complete picture of our lives. Yes, my beauty caused conflict, but it also inspired some of humanity's greatest poetry, art, and literature. Sometimes the most profound gifts come wrapped in the most challenging circumstances. Her observation reveals something essential about Elysium. This isn't a place where heroes rest on their laurels, but where they come to understand the full meaning and impact of their lives. They see not just their accomplishments, but how those accomplishments rippled out through time, inspiring others, changing the course of history in ways both large and small. You walk with Helen through gardens where the flowers seem to sing in harmony with the eternal music that fills the air. She shows you places where great poets gather to share verses that surpass anything they created in mortal life, where philosophers debate questions that have had eternity to develop in complexity and nuance, where warriors who once fought each other now collaborate on strategies for protecting and nurturing the growth of mortal virtue. In one magnificent grove, you encounter Achilles engaged in what appears to be a deeply philosophical conversation with Hector, the two great warriors of Troy, now united in friendship that transcends their mortal conflict. They're discussing not the tactics of war, but the nature of courage itself, how it manifests in different forms, and how it can be nurtured in those who must face their own heroic challenges. The strangest thing about being here, Achilles tells you, is realizing that every choice we made in mortal life was practice for this eternal existence. We thought we were living for immediate goals, victory, glory, love, justice. But we were actually learning how to become the souls we needed to be for this next phase. This insight resonates deeply as you continue exploring Elysium. Every hero you meet has reached a similar understanding. Their mortal trials weren't endings in themselves, but preparation for the greater work of helping to guide and inspire the ongoing story of existence. In a valley filled with trees that seem to be made of crystallized starlight, you find a group of souls engaged in what appears to be some kind of collective creative work. They're weaving something from threads of pure light and sound, not a tapestry or a song, but something that combines visual, auditory, and emotional elements into a work of art that exists in dimensions you can barely comprehend. One of the artists, whom you recognize as the legendary musician Orpheus, explains their work. In the mortal world, we were limited by our physical forms and finite lifespans. Here, we have eternity to explore what art can become when it's not constrained by material limitations. We're creating experiences that can inspire and guide souls across all realms of existence. The work they're creating seems to pulse with life and meaning, sending ripples of beauty and inspiration outward in all directions. You realize you're witnessing the creation of something that will influence countless souls across time and space, a masterpiece of eternal art that will serve as a beacon of possibility for anyone who encounters it. As you explore more of Elysium, you begin to understand why the ancient Greeks considered this the highest reward for virtuous living. It's not simply a place of pleasure or rest, but a realm of unlimited potential where souls can finally explore the full extent of what they're capable of becoming. You visit libraries where books write themselves, their contents evolving as readers engage with them, creating ever more perfect expressions of truth and beauty. You walk through workshops where inventors and craftspeople work with materials that respond to thought and intention, creating tools and art that push the boundaries of possibility. You observe gardens where botanists cultivate flowers that exist in multiple dimensions simultaneously, their beauty extending into realms of meaning that physical senses alone couldn't perceive. But perhaps most moving of all, you encounter regions where the heroes of Elysium work directly to support and inspire those still living mortal lives. They serve as invisible guides and guardians, sending inspiration to artists, courage to those who face overwhelming odds, wisdom to leaders making difficult decisions, and hope to anyone who despairs of ever making a meaningful difference in the world. "This is our true reward," explains a soul who had been a great teacher in mortal life. "Not rest or pleasure, but the opportunity to continue serving the greater good on a scale we never could have imagined while alive." What kind of heroic work would you want to do if you found yourself in Elysium? For me, it would have to be helping people find their own stories worth telling. There's something beautiful about the idea of eternal creative collaboration. After spending considerable time in the wonder of Elysium, you find yourself ready to explore the underworld's most mysterious and challenging region, Tartarus. The path that leads downward from the main crossroads is noticeably different from the routes to other regions. Instead of welcoming light and gentle landscapes, this way is marked by increasing darkness and a sense of weighty solemnity. But as you descend, you realize that the darkness here isn't oppressive or evil. It's the darkness of deep caves where precious crystals form, or the darkness of rich soil where the most beautiful flowers take root. This is the darkness of profound transformation, of justice being served, and of souls learning the hardest but most important lessons of existence. The landscape of Tartarus is unlike anything you've encountered in the underworld so far. Instead of gentle meadows or golden fields, you find yourself walking through a realm of dramatic contrasts. Vast caverns carved from stone that seems to absorb and transform light, creating an environment that's dim but never truly dark. Rivers of what appears to be liquid metal flow through channels carved in the cavern floors, their surfaces reflecting images that seem to show moments from countless lives. The architecture here is monumental and imposing, but not in a way that feels threatening. Great pillars rise from the cavern floors to support ceilings that disappear into shadow above. Carved into these pillars are scenes depicting justice, transformation, and redemption, reminders that even this deepest region of the underworld serves the greater purpose of cosmic balance and growth. As you walk deeper into Tartarus, you begin to encounter its most famous inhabitants, the souls who were sentenced here for crimes against the gods and the cosmic order. But what you discover challenges every expectation you might have had about eternal punishment. In a vast circular chamber, you find Sisyphus engaged with his famous boulder. But the scene is nothing like the futile, tormenting labour of popular imagination. The great stone he pushes up the eternal hill seems to pulse with inner light, and Sisyphus himself doesn't appear to be suffering. Instead, he works with the focused concentration of someone engaged in meaningful labour. When he notices your presence, Sisyphus pauses in his work and greets you with surprising warmth. "Ah, a visitor! It's always refreshing to meet someone new." "Please, don't look so concerned. I know my situation appears grim from the outside, but I've learned to find profound meaning in this work." He explains that each time he pushes the boulder up the hill, he carries with it the weight of understanding about the consequences of his mortal choices. Each time it rolls back down, it takes with it another layer of the selfishness and disregard for cosmic law that led to his punishment. The process is slowly but surely transforming him into something wiser and more compassionate than he ever was in mortal life. The beautiful irony, Sisyphus says with genuine enthusiasm, is that the gods designed this punishment to teach me the value of persistence, humility, and respect for cosmic order. It's working perfectly, though perhaps not in the way they originally intended. Nearby, you encounter Tantalus, reaching eternally for fruit and water that recede just beyond his grasp. But here too, the reality is more complex than the simple torment of legend. The fruit and water aren't being kept from him out of cruelty. They're teaching him about the nature of true satisfaction and the difference between wanting and needing. "I spent my mortal life believing that happiness came from acquiring and consuming," Tantalus explains during a pause in his reaching. "Here, I'm learning about the deeper satisfactions that come from appreciation rather than possession. Each time I reach for the fruit, I experience a moment of perfect desire. Each time it moves away, I learn a little more about contentment that doesn't depend on getting what I want." You realize that Tartarus isn't about punishment in the vindictive sense, but about education in its most profound form. The souls here are learning lessons that couldn't be taught any other way. Lessons about humility, justice, cosmic responsibility, and the true nature of satisfaction and meaning. In another great chamber, you find Ixion bound to his eternal wheel. The wheel spins constantly, creating patterns of light and shadow that seem to tell stories, not just of his crimes, but of all the moments in his mortal life when he could have chosen differently. As the wheel turns, he experiences each of these decision points again and again, gradually developing the wisdom to see how different choices would have led to different outcomes. "The wheel doesn't just show me my mistakes," Ixion tells you during one of the wheel's slower rotations. "It shows me all the possibilities that existed at every moment. I'm learning about the weight of free will and the responsibility that comes with every choice we make." The education taking place in Tartarus extends beyond individual transformation. You discover vast halls where souls work together on projects that benefit the entire cosmos. Calculating the mathematical principles that govern the movement of stars, composing music that helps maintain the harmony between different realms of existence, weaving the very fabric of destiny itself. In one such hall, you encounter the Titans, those primordial beings who once challenged Zeus for control of the cosmos. But instead of raging against their imprisonment, they're engaged in work of cosmic importance, using their immense power and ancient wisdom to help maintain the balance between order and chaos that allows existence itself to continue. "We thought we were being punished," explains one of the Titans, "but we've come to understand that we were being educated. Our power was too great and our wisdom too limited for us to be trusted with cosmic responsibility. Here, we're learning the patience, humility, and deeper understanding necessary to wield such power wisely." The work they're engaged in is beautiful beyond description, spinning threads of possibility, weaving patterns of cause and effect, nurturing the conditions necessary for life and growth and meaning to flourish throughout the cosmos. Their imprisonment has become a form of cosmic service that's more meaningful than anything they achieved during their rebellion. As you explore more of Tartarus, you begin to understand that this region represents the underworld's commitment to ultimate justice and redemption. No soul is abandoned here, no matter how terrible their crimes. Instead, each is given exactly the experiences necessary to develop the wisdom and compassion they need to eventually take their place in the greater cosmic community. You visit workshops where souls who had been tyrants in mortal life learn about the true nature of leadership by caring for gardens that require infinite patience and gentleness to flourish. You observe former murderers learning about the sanctity of life by serving as guardians for delicate creatures that exist nowhere else in the cosmos. You witness those who had been consumed by greed discovering the joy of generous service to others. In each case, the education is perfectly tailored to address the specific limitations that led to each soul's crimes. The process may take eons, but time has a different meaning here. What matters is growth, understanding, and the gradual transformation of every soul into something worthy of cosmic citizenship. The most profound revelation comes when you realize that even the structure of Tartarus itself is educational. The dramatic architecture, the imposing scale, the sense of weight and solemnity, all of it is designed to help souls understand their place in something vastly greater than themselves. The environment teaches humility, respect for cosmic law, and appreciation for the delicate balance that allows existence to continue. In the deepest regions of Tartarus, you discover something that surprises you even more. Halls where the souls who have completed their education serve as teachers and guides for those just beginning their journey. Former sinners who have achieved wisdom and redemption now work to help others along the same path. The most beautiful thing about justice, one such guide explains, is that it's not about punishment, but about healing. Every soul that's sent to Tartarus has the potential to become something greater than they ever were in mortal life. Our job is to help them realize that potential. As you prepare to leave Tartarus, you carry with you a profound new understanding of justice and redemption. This isn't a realm of hopeless torment, but of profound education and transformation. Every soul here is on a journey toward wisdom and compassion, supported by a system of cosmic justice that never gives up on anyone's potential for growth. The journey back up from the depths of Tartarus takes you through landscapes that seem designed to help you process what you've experienced. Gardens of contemplation where you can sit and reflect on the nature of justice and redemption. Libraries where you can read the stories of souls who have completed their education and moved on to other regions of the underworld. Galleries displaying art created by those who transformed their understanding of beauty through their time in the depths. When you finally emerge from Tartarus, you find yourself back at the great crossroads where your exploration began. But now one path remains unexplored, the way to the palace of Hades and Persephone, where the rulers of this realm hold court and where the great judges of the dead deliberate over the destinies of souls. The path to the palace is the most magnificent of all the routes through the underworld. It's paved with stones that seem to contain entire galaxies within their depths, and lined with trees whose leaves are made of crystallized starlight. Gardens along the way display flowers that exist in multiple dimensions simultaneously, their beauty visible to senses you didn't know you possessed. As you walk this royal road, you begin to encounter other travelers, souls making their way to audiences with the rulers of the underworld, messengers carrying communications between different regions, and various functionaries engaged in the complex administration required to govern such a vast and diverse realm. The palace itself, when it finally comes into view, is a structure of impossible beauty and grandeur. It seems to be carved from a single massive crystal that refracts light into patterns of meaning rather than simple colors. The architecture combines elements from every civilization that ever existed, creating a synthesis that represents the finest achievements of all mortal cultures, while transcending any single architectural tradition. Great columns support a roof that seems to extend into infinity, their surfaces carved with scenes depicting the entire history of the cosmos, from the first emergence of order, from chaos through the eventual culmination of all existence in perfect understanding and harmony. Between the columns, gardens display every flower that ever bloomed, every tree that ever grew, every natural wonder that ever existed, all perfected and enhanced beyond their mortal limitations. At the heart of the palace, you find the throne room where Hades and Persephone hold court. The space is vast beyond measurement, yet somehow intimate and welcoming. The thrones themselves are masterworks of cosmic artistry, carved from materials that seem to contain the essence of earth and sky, decorated with symbols that represent every aspect of existence, both light and dark. Hades himself is nothing like the grim, frightening figure of popular imagination. He appears as a being of profound dignity and wisdom, his presence radiating the kind of authority that comes from eons of just and compassionate rule. His eyes hold depths that seem to contain all the stories of every soul who has ever lived, yet when he looks at you, you feel seen and understood in a way that's both humbling and comforting. Persephone sits beside him, her beauty transcending anything that could be captured in mortal art or poetry. She embodies the perfect synthesis of life and death, growth and rest, spring's promise and autumn's wisdom. When she speaks, her voice carries the music of growing things and the deep peace of eternal cycles. "Welcome," Hades says, his voice resonating with warmth and genuine pleasure. "It's been a long time since we've had a visitor explore our realm so thoroughly. Tell us, what have you discovered in your journey through our domain?" As you share your experiences, the peaceful wisdom of the Asphodel Meadows, the inspiring creativity of Elysium, the profound education taking place in Tartarus, both rulers listen with the kind of deep attention that makes you feel your observations are genuinely valued. "You've seen what few understand," Persephone observes, "that death is not an ending but a transformation, and that our realm exists not to punish or reward, but to help every soul continue growing toward their highest potential." They explain that the underworld serves as the universe's great school of wisdom, where souls learn lessons that couldn't be taught in any other way. Each region is carefully designed to provide exactly the experiences each soul needs to continue their eternal journey of growth and understanding. The mortal world provides the experiences of beginning, Hades explains. Here, souls learn about continuation. Eventually, they'll move on to other realms where they'll discover what culmination means. In the great hall adjacent to the throne room, you encounter the famous judges of the dead, Minos, Rhadamanthus, and Aeacus. These three ancient kings had been transformed by their service into beings of perfect wisdom and justice. They don't simply assign souls to different regions of the underworld. They help each soul understand their own nature and needs well enough to choose their own path forward. Justice, Minos explains, isn't about punishment or reward in the way mortals understand those concepts. It's about helping each soul find the experiences they need to continue growing. Sometimes that means rest and peace in the Asphodel Meadows. Sometimes it means inspiration and creative work in Elysium. Sometimes it means intensive education in Tartarus. Our job is to help souls recognize which path will serve their growth best. You observe one of their sessions, a soul who had lived a life of neither great virtue nor great vice, trying to understand what they needed for their continued development. The judges don't impose a sentence. Instead, they ask questions that help the soul discover their own deepest needs and desires. Through their guidance, the soul comes to understand that they need time for peaceful contemplation and gradual healing, and they choose the path to the Asphodel Meadows with full understanding of what that choice means. "Free will doesn't end with mortal death," Rhadamanthus explains after the session. If anything, it becomes more important here, where souls have the wisdom to make choices based on genuine understanding rather than fear or desire. Throughout your time in the palace, you're struck by the sense of cosmic order and purpose that pervades everything. This isn't a bureaucracy of death, but a carefully designed system for supporting the continued growth and development of consciousness itself. Every soul matters, every story has value, and every choice contributes to the grand narrative of existence. In the palace gardens, you encounter souls who serve as advisors and assistants to the rulers of the underworld, beings who have completed their own journeys of understanding and now work to help others along their paths. They come from every conceivable background and time period, united by their commitment to wisdom, justice, and compassionate service. One such advisor, who introduces herself as a former philosopher from ancient Athens, shares her perspective on the underworld's true purpose. We call this the realm of the dead, but it's really the realm of transformation. Every soul who arrives here is dying to their old limitations and being reborn into greater understanding. Our job is to make that transformation as meaningful and growth-promoting as possible. Which role in the underworld's cosmic order appeals to you most? For me, it would have to be working as one of those transformation guides. The idea of helping souls discover their next phase of growth seems like the most fulfilling work imaginable. As your time in the palace draws to a close, Hades and Persephone invite you to join them for a meal, not because you need sustenance, but because sharing food is one of the most ancient forms of hospitality and community. The feast they provide is unlike anything that could exist in the mortal world. Dishes that nourish not just the body but the soul, flavors that awaken understanding, and conversations that span the entirety of cosmic existence. During the meal, they share stories of the most remarkable souls they've encountered in their eons of rule. Heroes whose courage transcended death, artists whose creativity flourished in the unlimited environment of the afterlife, and even former tyrants whose transformation in Tartarus led them to become some of the wisest and most compassionate beings in existence. Every soul teaches us something new about the nature of existence, Persephone observes. That's one of the greatest joys of our work here. We're constantly learning and growing alongside those we serve. As the meal concludes, Hades presents you with a gift, a small crystal that seems to contain some of the essence of your journey through the underworld. This will help you remember what you've learned here, he explains, and serve as a reminder that death is not something to fear, but simply the next chapter in an eternal story of growth and discovery. With the crystal safely in your possession, you prepare to begin your journey back through the underworld toward the world of the living. But you discover that the return journey is quite different from your initial exploration. Now that you've seen and understood the true nature of this realm, the landscapes reveal additional layers of meaning and beauty that were invisible before. The Asphodel Meadows now show you their role as a vast healing sanctuary where souls learn to exist without the constant pressures and anxieties that defined their mortal lives. You see the profound contentment of spirits who have finally found peace with simply being, and you understand that this apparent simplicity masks a profound wisdom about the nature of existence itself. Elysium reveals itself as more than just a paradise for heroes. It's a creative laboratory where the most accomplished souls work to inspire and guide ongoing growth throughout the cosmos. Every artwork, every philosophical insight, every moment of beauty created here sends ripples of inspiration across all realms of existence. Tartarus shows you its true face as the universe's most profound school of wisdom, where even the most challenging souls receive exactly the education they need to eventually take their place as contributing members of the cosmic community. The apparent harshness of its lessons is revealed as the ultimate expression of faith in every soul's potential for redemption and growth. The rivers of the underworld sing with new meaning, the Acheron carrying away the sorrows that no longer serve growth, the Cocytus preserving every story worth remembering, the Lethe offering the gift of fresh starts to those ready for them, the Phlegethon providing purification for any willing to be cleansed, and the mighty Styx maintaining the cosmic order that allows all of this transformation to continue. As you approach the gates where Cerberus stands his eternal watch, the great guardian again lowers his head for you to stroke his fur. But now you understand that his presence represents not an obstacle, but a blessing, the assurance that every soul will be guided to exactly the experiences they need for continued growth. Charon waits at the river crossing with his boat, ready to ferry you back across the waters that separate the realm of the dead from the world of the living. During the return journey, he shares his own perspective on the countless souls he's transported. The most beautiful thing about this work, he says as his boat glides across the dark waters, is watching souls discover that death isn't an ending, but a doorway. Fear transforms into curiosity, despair becomes hope, and every soul finds exactly what they need to continue their eternal journey of becoming. As you step onto the shore on the far side of the river, you feel the subtle shift that marks your return to the realm of the living. The mist around your feet begins to thin, and the eternal twilight of the underworld gradually gives way to the familiar light of mortal existence. But you carry with you far more than memories of an extraordinary journey. You've gained a profound new understanding of the nature of existence itself, that consciousness is eternal, that growth and learning continue beyond physical death, that justice is ultimately about education and redemption rather than punishment, and that every soul has infinite potential for wisdom and compassion. The crystal gift from Hades pulses gently in your possession, a tangible reminder of the truths you've discovered. Death is not a wall but a doorway, not an ending but a transformation. The underworld is not a place of punishment, but a realm of continued growth and learning, carefully designed to help every soul evolve toward their highest potential. As you return fully to the world of the living, you find that your perspective on life itself has been transformed. Every moment becomes more precious because you understand that it's part of an eternal journey of growth and discovery. Every choice carries more weight because you've seen how our decisions ripple out through time and space, affecting not just ourselves, but the entire cosmic community. The fear of death that haunts so many mortal lives has been replaced by curiosity about the next phase of existence. You've seen that the underworld is populated not by tormented spirits, but by souls engaged in meaningful work, healing, learning, creating, and serving the greater good in ways that transcend anything possible in mortal life. You've witnessed justice revealed not as punishment, but as education, not as ending, but as opportunity for redemption and growth. Even the most challenging souls receive exactly the experiences they need to eventually become contributing members of the cosmic community, supported by a system of infinite patience and wisdom. The relationships you formed during your journey, with Charon, the wise ferryman, Cerberus, the noble guardian, the peaceful souls of the Asphodel Meadows, the inspiring heroes of Elysium, the transforming spirits of Tartarus, and the cosmic rulers, Hades and Persephone themselves, remain vivid in your memory. You understand that these connections represent just a small sample of the vast community of consciousness that spans all realms of existence. Most importantly, you've discovered that every soul's story matters. Whether lived in quiet contentment, heroic achievement, or learning from mistakes, every life contributes something valuable to the eternal narrative of existence. The underworld serves as a great library where all these stories are preserved, understood, and woven together into a tapestry of meaning that encompasses all of consciousness itself. As you settle back into mortal life, carrying the wisdom of your underworld journey, you find yourself seeing everything with new eyes. The struggles and joys of daily existence take on deeper meaning because you understand how they contribute to your soul's eternal education. Relationships become more precious because you've seen how love transcends even death itself. Creative work becomes more important because you've witnessed how inspiration flows between all realms of existence. The crystal from Hades continues to pulse gently, a constant reminder that you are part of something infinitely larger and more meaningful than any single lifetime could contain. You've journeyed through every region of the Greek underworld and discovered that it's not a place to be feared, but a realm to be understood as the next chapter in consciousness's eternal story of growth, learning, and becoming. And as you drift toward sleep, carrying these profound revelations with you, you know that your journey through the underworld has given you something infinitely precious. The understanding that existence itself is an eternal adventure. Death is simply another doorway along the path, and every soul is on a journey toward wisdom, compassion, and cosmic citizenship that has no ending, only endless becoming. The mist that first announced your entry into the underworld now settles around you once more, but this time it carries you not into death but into dreams, where the boundaries between realms become fluid and the wisdom you've gained can continue to grow and deepen. In your dreams, you may find yourself once again walking the luminous paths of the underworld, continuing conversations with its inhabitants, and discovering ever deeper layers of meaning in the eternal drama of consciousness, exploring itself through countless forms and endless time. But your journey through the underworld has only begun to reveal its deepest secrets. As you rest in that peaceful space between waking and sleeping, the crystal gift from Hades continues to pulse with gentle light, and suddenly you realize that your understanding can go much deeper. The underworld calls you back, not for another journey, but for a more profound exploration of the mysteries you encountered. You find yourself once again standing at the convergence of the 5 great rivers, but now your perception has been transformed by your complete journey through the realm. Each waterway reveals layers of meaning and purpose that were invisible during your first encounter. These are not merely geographical features, but the very arteries through which the spiritual essence of the underworld flows. The Styx commands your attention first, its dark waters circling the entire underworld 9 times in an eternal spiral that defines the very boundaries of Hades' domain. As you approach its banks, you can feel the weight of cosmic authority that flows within its current. This is the river by which even Zeus himself swears his most binding oaths, and you begin to understand why. The water itself seems to contain the crystallized essence of absolute truth. When you peer into its depths, you see not your own reflection, but glimpses of every oath ever sworn, every promise ever made, every commitment that has shaped the course of existence. The river holds them all, binding them with a power that transcends even divine will. You watch as droplets of Styx water rise from the surface like liquid starlight, each one containing the power to make any promise unbreakable. The ancient Greeks understood something profound about the nature of truth and commitment, that there must exist somewhere a force so absolute that even the gods cannot violate it. The Styx represents that ultimate anchor of cosmic law. A gentle presence materializes beside you, the river's own spirit, appearing as a figure of indeterminate age whose form shifts between silver and shadow. Her voice carries the authority of eons when she speaks. "I am the keeper of all oaths," she explains, her words rippling across the water's surface. "When Zeus swears by my waters and breaks that oath, he falls into a coma that lasts a full year, unable to speak or breathe ambrosia. Even divine power cannot overcome the law I represent." She shows you how the river's 9 circuits create a perfect spiral that encompasses every region of the underworld, ensuring that no soul can escape without passing through waters that have witnessed every truth ever spoken. The mathematical precision of this arrangement speaks to a deeper order underlying all existence. "My waters don't just bind oaths," she continues, "they create the very framework within which free will can operate safely. Without absolute truth as a foundation, choice itself becomes meaningless." As you absorb this wisdom, your attention shifts to the Acheron, the river of pain, whose name has become synonymous with sorrow and woe. But standing here now, with deeper understanding, you perceive that this characterization misses the river's true purpose entirely. The Acheron flows with a current that seems to move through time as much as space, carrying within its dark waters every moment of suffering that ever was or will be. But rather than amplifying pain, the river serves as a vast repository of healing, transforming raw anguish into wisdom and compassion. You observe souls approaching the river's edge, each carrying burdens of grief, regret, and trauma from their mortal lives. But as they wade into the gentle current, something remarkable happens. The water doesn't take their pain away. Instead, it helps them understand the meaning within their suffering, the growth that emerged from their trials, the compassion they developed through their struggles. One soul, a woman who had lost children to plague in her mortal life, shares her experience as she emerges from the Acheron's waters. "I thought my grief would never end," she explains, her form now glowing with peaceful acceptance. "But the river showed me how my love for them became a force that comforted countless other parents facing similar losses. My pain became my gift to the world." The river's true name, you realize, should be the river of meaningful sorrow. Pain that serves a purpose, suffering that transforms into wisdom, grief that becomes the foundation for deeper compassion. The Acheron doesn't cause pain, it reveals the hidden meanings within the pain that already exists. You notice how the river's current carries away, not the memories of difficult experiences, but the bitterness and resentment that prevent those experiences from becoming sources of growth. Souls who bathe in its waters retain their stories but lose the toxic emotions that kept them trapped in cycles of anger and despair. The river spirit who materializes here appears as an ancient healer, her presence radiating the kind of deep peace that can only come from having witnessed infinite suffering transformed into infinite compassion. "Pain is not punishment," she explains as you walk along the riverbank together. "It's education. Every moment of suffering contains a lesson about the preciousness of joy, the importance of compassion, the strength of the human spirit. My waters help souls extract those lessons from their experiences." She shows you tributaries of the Acheron that flow into every region of the underworld, carrying the wisdom gleaned from transformed suffering to wherever it's needed most. Souls in the Asphodel Meadows receive comfort from others who have faced similar trials. Heroes in Elysium draw inspiration from stories of those who found meaning in their darkest moments. Even the souls in Tartarus benefit from understanding how pain can become a teacher rather than a tormentor. Your exploration continues to the Lethe, whose waters shimmer with an opalescent beauty that seems to shift between silver and gold and colors that have no names in any mortal tongue. This is the river of forgetfulness. But as you study its flowing depths with your enhanced perception, you understand that forgetfulness is far too simple, a description for its true function. The Lethe doesn't erase memories indiscriminately. It offers souls the chance to release the specific memories that prevent them from moving forward in their eternal journey. Some souls need to forget the trauma that keeps them trapped in cycles of fear. Others need to release attachments to mortal identities that no longer serve their growth. Still others benefit from forgetting old grudges and resentments that poison their ability to form new relationships. You watch as souls approach the river with careful deliberation. This is always a choice, never a mandate. Each soul must decide for themselves which memories to release and which to retain. The river simply provides the means to make that choice meaningful. One soul, a former king who had been consumed with pride in his mortal achievements, explains his decision to drink from the Lethe. "I needed to forget my crown and my conquests," he says as he prepares to wade into the shimmering waters. "They were keeping me from learning who I could become without titles and power defining me." But you also observe souls who choose not to drink, who decide their complete memories, both joyful and painful, are essential to their continued growth. The river spirit here appears as a wise librarian, her presence suggesting both the value of remembering and the wisdom of selective forgetting. Memory is a tool, she explains, as you observe the careful process by which souls make their choices. Like any tool, it serves us best when we use it consciously and purposefully. Some memories inspire us to grow, others trap us in patterns that no longer serve. My waters allow souls to curate their own collection of memories, keeping what helps and releasing what hinders. You notice that the water itself seems to respond to each soul's specific needs, becoming more or less potent depending on how much forgetting would benefit their particular journey. For some, a single drop erases decades of trauma. For others, full immersion leaves them with only the essential core of their identity intact, ready to build entirely new understandings of themselves. The most fascinating aspect of the Lethe is how it preserves the wisdom gained from experiences even as it releases the emotional pain associated with those experiences. A soul might forget the specific details of a betrayal but retain the hard-won knowledge about trust and relationships that emerged from that experience. The phlegathon commands attention through its spectacular display of flames that dance across the water's surface without being extinguished. These are not ordinary fires that consume and destroy, but purifying flames that burn away everything false and temporary while leaving the eternal essence of each soul untouched and strengthened. As you approach this river of fire, you feel no heat that threatens harm, but rather a warmth that penetrates to the very core of being, dissolving barriers and illusions that prevent souls from perceiving their true nature. The flames respond differently to each soul that enters them, burning with colors and intensities perfectly calibrated to that individual's needs. You observe souls emerging from the phlegathon transformed not in their essential nature, but in their clarity about that nature. Pretenses and self-deceptions that clouded their understanding have been gently burned away, leaving them with perfect knowledge of their own strengths, challenges, and potential for growth. One soul, a merchant who had spent his mortal life convinced that his worth was determined by his wealth, shares his experience after bathing in the river's flames. The fire didn't hurt, he explains, his form now radiating a confidence that has nothing to do with external accomplishments. It just burned away all the lies I had told myself about what made me valuable. Now I can see clearly what I actually have to offer the cosmos. The river spirit here manifests as a master craftsman, someone who understands the precise application of fire needed to refine precious metals without damaging them. His presence suggests both power and careful control, the ability to transform without destroying. My flames reveal truth by burning away falsehood, he explains as you watch souls voluntarily entering the purifying waters. Every soul contains infinite potential, but that potential is often hidden beneath layers of fear, pretense, and misunderstanding. The fire strips away those obstructions, allowing each soul's true light to shine forth. You notice that the phlegathon has different channels for different types of purification. Some streams burn away emotional attachments that have become possessive and limiting. Others dissolve intellectual frameworks that prevent souls from perceiving new possibilities. Still others purify spiritual understanding, removing the dogmas and rigid beliefs that constrain growth. What's most remarkable is how the purification process enhances rather than diminishes each soul's individuality. By burning away what was false or borrowed, the flames allow each soul's authentic nature to emerge more clearly. The result is not uniformity, but a beautiful diversity of souls expressing their unique potential without the distortions that limited them in mortal life. The final river in this cosmic system is the Cocytus, whose name means wailing, but whose actual function transcends this simple description. As you approach its banks, you hear not cries of despair, but something far more complex and beautiful. The sound of every story ever told, every song ever sung, every expression of the full spectrum of existence experience. The river carries within its flow all the voices that ever were, not just human voices, but the songs of birds, the whisper of wind through trees, the rhythm of rain on stone, the harmony of spheres moving through space. It's a cosmic symphony that encompasses every sound that has ever contributed to the ongoing story of existence. You observe souls coming to the Cocytus not to drink its waters, but to add their own voices to its eternal chorus. Each soul contributes their unique story, their individual perspective on the universal themes of love, loss, growth, discovery, triumph, and transformation. These stories don't disappear into the river's flow, but become part of a vast collaborative narrative that enriches all of existence. One soul, a woman who had been a travelling bard in her mortal life, explains the process as she prepares to share her story with the river. Every life is a unique verse in the cosmic poem, she says. By adding my voice to the Cocytus, I ensure that my particular understanding of beauty, struggle, and meaning becomes available to inspire others across all realms of existence. The river spirit here appears as the ultimate storyteller, a being whose presence contains echoes of every tale ever told and every song ever sung. Her voice harmonizes with itself in impossible ways, creating melodies that seem to emerge from the very structure of reality. Stories are how consciousness understands itself, she explains as you listen to the river's eternal chorus. Each soul's individual story adds new dimensions to the universal story. Through the Cocytus, every experience becomes part of the collective wisdom available to all existence. You discover that different sections of the river carry different types of stories. Epic tales of heroism and adventure flow in one channel, while intimate stories of quiet love and domestic happiness flow in another. Tales of redemption and transformation create their own currents, while stories of creativity and discovery form streams that sparkle with their own inner light. What moves you most is observing how stories from different souls begin to harmonize and complement each other in the river's flow. A tale of loss shared by one soul provides comfort and understanding for another soul facing similar challenges. A story of triumph inspires courage in those preparing to face their own difficult journeys. The river creates connections and understanding across all boundaries of time, culture, and individual experience. As your deeper understanding of the five rivers reaches completion, you find yourself drawn back to contemplate Charon, the ferryman whose service makes navigation of these cosmic waterways possible. Your initial encounter with him revealed his kindness and wisdom, but now you perceive the profound significance of his role in the underworld's spiritual ecosystem. Charon is far more than a simple transport service. He serves as the first guide every soul encounters in the underworld, the one who helps them make the crucial transition from mortal existence to whatever comes after. His presence at the river crossing represents the first moment when souls must actively participate in their own journey rather than simply being carried along by the momentum of life and death. The famous obol, the coin traditionally placed in the mouth of the deceased to pay Charon's fare, reveals itself as a symbol of profound spiritual significance rather than simple payment for services. The coin represents the soul's willingness to invest in their own transformation, to actively choose growth and understanding rather than remaining trapped in the familiar patterns of mortal existence. You observe souls approaching Charon's dock, and you notice that not all of them carry the traditional coin. Some arrive with offerings of service, prepared to work alongside Charon to help other souls make their transition. Others carry artistic creations, poems or songs or visual expressions that add beauty to the journey. Still others offer their own hard-won wisdom, stories of lessons learned that might benefit fellow travelers. Charon accepts all these offerings with equal grace, understanding that the true payment he seeks is not monetary but spiritual, evidence that each soul is ready to engage actively with their own continued development rather than remaining passive recipients of whatever fate might bring. The obol was never about money, Charon explains as you observe his interactions with arriving souls. It was about intention. A soul that arrives prepared to contribute something to their own journey, whether coin, service, art, or wisdom, is a soul that's ready to benefit from what the underworld has to offer. You learn that souls who arrive without any offering aren't turned away but are invited to spend time at the riverside until they understand what they have to contribute. This isn't punishment, but preparation, an opportunity for souls to discover their own agency in the continuation of their existence. The waiting area along the river's edge reveals itself as its own realm of learning and growth. Souls gather here to share stories, to reflect on their mortal experiences, and to prepare themselves mentally and spiritually for whatever lies ahead. Many discover in this process that they have far more to offer than they initially realized. One soul, a man who had died convinced that his life was meaningless and worthless, shares how his time waiting by the river revealed hidden gifts he never recognized in himself. I thought I had nothing to contribute, he explains, but other souls here helped me see how my quiet kindness had touched countless lives, how my patient listening had provided comfort to many who needed it. That kindness became my fare. Charon's boat itself proves to be more than a simple vessel when viewed with enhanced understanding. It serves as a mobile sanctuary, a space where souls can begin the process of releasing their attachment to mortal identity while not yet fully embracing their underworld existence. The journey across the waters provides time for contemplation, preparation, and gradual adjustment to the profound transition they're undergoing. During these crossings, Charon serves as counselor, guide, and gentle teacher. He helps souls understand what they've left behind and what they might discover ahead. His eons of experience have taught him exactly what each type of soul needs to hear during this crucial transition period. You observe him adjusting his approach for different souls, offering comfort to those who arrive frightened, providing encouragement to those who doubt their worthiness, sharing wisdom with those who hunger for understanding, and simply providing peaceful companionship for those who need time to process their transition in silence. Every soul teaches me something new about the nature of existence, Charon shares during one of your conversations. In return, I try to offer each soul exactly what they need to begin their underworld journey with hope rather than fear, curiosity rather than dread. The most profound aspect of Charon's role becomes apparent when you realize that he serves as the living embodiment of compassionate service. His willingness to spend eternity helping others make one of the most difficult transitions in existence demonstrates that meaningful work continues beyond mortal life, and that the greatest satisfaction comes from contributing to others' growth and well-being. Your attention now turns to Cerberus, the magnificent guardian whose presence at the gates of Hades has been so often misunderstood by mortal interpretations of his role. Standing before him again with deeper perception, you realize that his three heads represent far more than mere intimidation. They symbolize the complete awareness necessary to guard the boundaries between different states of existence. One head watches the approach from the land of the living, alert for those who attempt to enter the underworld before their time. Another head observes the interior of Hades' realm, ensuring that souls don't try to leave before completing their necessary journey of growth and understanding. The third head looks beyond both realms, maintaining awareness of the cosmic balance that allows both life and afterlife to coexist in harmony. Cerberus's massive size isn't meant to terrify, but to inspire awe and respect for the magnitude of the responsibilities he bears. As the guardian of the boundary between life and death, he must possess wisdom vast enough to distinguish between legitimate and illegitimate crossings, strength sufficient to maintain cosmic order, and compassion deep enough to recognize when beings truly need his protection. You observe souls arriving at the gates, and you see how Cerberus responds to each with perfect discrimination. Souls whose time has genuinely come receive gentle welcome and safe passage. Living beings who arrive through legitimate means, heroes on divinely sanctioned quests, for example, are granted careful consideration and appropriate guidance. But you also witness his response to those who attempt unauthorized crossings. Rather than savage attack, Cerberus employs precisely calibrated deterrence. Living beings who stumble into the underworld by accident are gently but firmly guided back to the world above. Souls who try to flee their necessary education are returned to the appropriate region of Hades with patient but unyielding authority. "My role isn't to punish," Cerberus explains, his three voices creating a harmonious chord that resonates through your entire being, but to maintain the proper order that allows both realms to serve their intended purposes. Chaos serves no one, not the living, not the dead, not the cosmos itself. His lineage as son of Typhon and Echidna, primordial forces of chaos and monstrosity, makes his role as guardian of order particularly meaningful. He represents the transformation of chaotic power into organized service, the channeling of immense strength toward constructive rather than destructive ends. You learn that Cerberus was not assigned his position by force or coercion, but chose it freely, recognizing that his unique combination of power, wisdom, and discernment made him perfectly suited to serve as guardian. His service represents the ultimate expression of strength used in service of the greater good. The few mortals who successfully bypassed Cerberus, Hercules through strength, Orpheus through beauty, Aeneas through divine protection, did so not by defeating him but by demonstrating qualities that convinced him their missions served legitimate purposes. In each case, Cerberus made a conscious choice to allow passage rather than being overpowered or deceived. True strength, Cerberus observes, isn't about overwhelming opposition, but about using power wisely in service of what's right. Hercules proved his strength served justice. Orpheus demonstrated that beauty has its own legitimate power. Aeneas carried divine authorization for his mission. In each case, I recognized that allowing passage served the greater cosmic good. You discover that Cerberus maintains relationships with guardians and guides throughout the underworld, serving as part of a vast network dedicated to ensuring every soul receives exactly the experiences they need for continued growth. He communicates regularly with Charon about souls in transition, with the judges about souls requiring special consideration, and with the rulers of different regions about beings who might benefit from alternative paths. His three heads also represent different aspects of guardianship: protection, guidance, and wisdom. The protective head ensures no harm comes to those under his care. The guidance head helps lost souls find their proper destinations. The wisdom head maintains awareness of the deeper purposes served by allowing or preventing various crossings. What moves you most about Cerberus is his profound loneliness transformed into equally profound service. As a unique being with responsibilities that none other can fully understand, he might easily become isolated and embittered. Instead, he has channeled his singular position into dedication to a cause greater than himself, finding meaning and satisfaction in service to cosmic order. Your exploration of the underworld's key figures leads you to the three judges of the dead: Minos, Rhadamanthus, and Aeacus, whose role in determining the destiny of souls reveals profound truths about the nature of justice itself. These three ancient kings, renowned for their fairness and wisdom in mortal life, have been transformed by their eternal service into embodiments of perfect judgment. But as you observe their work with enhanced understanding, you realize that their function transcends simple judgment in the punitive sense. They serve more as counselors and guides, helping each soul recognize their own nature and needs clearly enough to choose the path that will best serve their continued development. Minos, the legendary king of Crete whose justice was renowned throughout the ancient world, now serves as the primary judge whose role involves helping souls understand the full scope of their mortal choices and their consequences. His presence radiates the kind of authority that comes from having achieved perfect fairness through eons of practice and reflection. You observe him in session with a soul who lived a life of mixed virtue and vice, neither particularly heroic nor particularly evil. Rather than pronouncing judgment from on high, Minos engages the soul in deep conversation about their motivations, their understanding of their choices, and their desires for continued growth. True justice, Minos explains to you during a break between sessions, isn't about punishment or reward, but about ensuring each soul receives exactly the experiences they need to continue evolving toward their highest potential. My role is to help souls see themselves clearly enough to make wise choices about their next phase of existence. Rhadamanthus, renowned in mortal life for his unwavering commitment to truth and justice, specializes in cases involving souls who struggled with questions of moral complexity during their earthly existence. His approach involves helping souls untangle the complicated web of circumstances, intentions, and consequences that shaped their mortal choices. You watch him work with a soul who had been forced to make impossible choices during wartime, actions that saved some lives but cost others. Rather than attempting to weigh these choices on some cosmic scale, Rhadamanthus helps the soul understand how their agonizing decisions contributed to their moral development and what lessons they carry forward. Complexity is not a problem to be solved, but a reality to be understood, Rhadamanthus shares with you. Many souls arrive here tormented by choices that had no clear right answer. My role is to help them see how wrestling with such choices contributed to their wisdom and compassion. Aeacus, celebrated for his piety and devotion to the gods during his mortal reign, focuses particularly on souls whose earthly experience involved deep spiritual searching and religious devotion. His work involves helping souls understand how their spiritual practices and beliefs served their development, while gently releasing them from any limiting or dogmatic aspects of those same traditions. You observe him counseling a soul who had spent their mortal life in rigid adherence to religious law, struggling now with the discovery that the afterlife doesn't match their expectations. Aeacus guides them toward understanding how their devotion itself was valuable, even if their specific beliefs need updating in light of their expanded awareness. Faith is a journey, not a destination, Aeacus explains to you. My role is to help souls see how their spiritual seeking prepared them for continued growth, while helping them release attachment to specific forms that may no longer serve them. What strikes you most about all three judges is their infinite patience and compassion. They never rush souls through the process of self-understanding, never force conclusions, never impose verdicts. Instead, they create space for each soul to achieve genuine insight about their own nature and needs. You witness sessions that extend for what would be months or years in mortal terms, as souls gradually work through layers of self-deception, fear, and confusion to achieve clarity about their next phase of growth. The judges remain consistently supportive throughout these processes, offering wisdom and guidance while respecting each soul's ultimate autonomy in choosing their path forward. The courthouse where they work reveals itself as a masterpiece of cosmic architecture designed to promote honest self-reflection and clear thinking. The space itself seems to encourage truth-telling and self-awareness, while providing comfort and support for souls undergoing the sometimes difficult process of seeing themselves clearly. You discover that the judges also work together on particularly complex cases, combining their different areas of expertise to help souls with unusually complicated histories or needs. Their collaboration demonstrates how wisdom traditions can complement rather than compete with each other when focused on genuine service to others' growth. Perfect justice. All three judges agree when you ask about their shared philosophy means helping each soul find the path that will best serve their continued evolution toward wisdom, compassion, and cosmic citizenship. Everything else is just implementation details. Your deepest exploration leads you finally to the Asphodel Meadows, whose true nature you can now perceive with complete clarity. Far from being a realm of neutral boredom or meaningless existence, these vast fields represent one of the most profound achievements of cosmic wisdom, a space designed for gentle healing and gradual integration of life experiences. The asphodels themselves, those pale, ghostly flowers that give the region its name, prove to be living symbols of transformation. Each bloom represents a mortal life that has been refined into its essential meaning, stripped of the chaos and confusion that often obscured its deeper significance while being lived. As you walk through the endless meadows with enhanced perception, you observe the incredible diversity of experiences taking place here. Some souls engage in quiet contemplation, processing their mortal experiences at their own pace without pressure or urgency. Others gather in groups to share stories and insights, creating collective understanding from individual experiences. You encounter a soul who had lived a life of quiet service as a village healer, never famous or celebrated, but touching countless lives through her gentle care. In the Asphodel Meadows, she continues this healing work on a different level, helping other souls process the wounds and traumas that prevent them from fully embracing their continued existence. "I thought my life was unremarkable," she shares as you walk through a grove of shimmering asphodels. "But here I can see how every small kindness rippled outward, how every moment of compassion contributed to the overall healing of the world. This understanding has given my existence a meaning I never recognized while living." Another soul, a farmer who spent his mortal years coaxing life from difficult soil, now tends gardens where memories themselves grow like flowers, carefully nurturing the most meaningful moments from countless lives into forms that can inspire and teach others. "Growing things taught me patience in mortal life," he explains as he shows you beds where crystallized moments of love, courage, and wisdom bloom in impossible colors. "Here, I've learned that souls need the same patient tending. Give them the right conditions and time, and they'll naturally grow toward their highest potential." The meadows accommodate every conceivable form of peaceful activity and reflection. Some souls have formed communities based on shared interests or experiences, creating havens where those who lived similar lives can share understanding and support. Others prefer solitude, finding secluded spots where they can contemplate existence without interruption. You discover libraries where souls record their life stories, not for judgment but for preservation and understanding. These repositories contain the wisdom extracted from every conceivable form of human experience. The insights of farmers and kings, artists and merchants, parents and philosophers, all given equal value and attention. Music flows through the meadows constantly, created by souls who have found in death the freedom to explore sounds and harmonies impossible in mortal life. The melodies seem to emerge from the very air itself, reflecting the emotional landscape of souls learning to exist without the pressures and anxieties that defined their earthly existence. Art galleries display works created from materials that exist only in the underworld. Crystallized emotions, woven memories, sculptures carved from transformed regret and polished with acceptance. These pieces serve both as expression and therapy, helping their creators process complex feelings while creating beauty that enriches the entire realm. What moves you most about the Asphodel Meadows is the profound sense of acceptance that pervades everything. Souls here have learned to exist without constantly striving, achieving, or becoming something other than what they are. This doesn't represent giving up or resignation, but rather the deep peace that comes from finally understanding that their essential worth doesn't depend on external accomplishments. You observe souls engaged in activities that would seem pointless by mortal standards, tending gardens that don't need care, building structures that don't serve practical purposes, having conversations that reach no conclusions. But viewed with underworld perception, these activities reveal themselves as pure expressions of joy in existence itself, freed from the need to accomplish anything beyond the pleasure of the activity. Time moves differently in the Asphodel Meadows, flowing at whatever pace each soul finds most conducive to their healing and growth. Some souls process their mortal experiences quickly and move on to other regions of the underworld. Others remain for eons, gradually working through complex layers of trauma, regret, and confusion at their own unhurried pace. The meadows serve as a vast sanctuary where souls learn the most fundamental lesson of existence, that consciousness itself has intrinsic value that doesn't depend on productivity, achievement, or even moral virtue. Simply being aware, simply experiencing existence is enough to justify continued existence. You encounter souls who had spent their mortal lives convinced they were failures, discovering in the peaceful meadows that their struggles and apparent defeats contributed as much to cosmic wisdom as any triumph. Their willingness to keep trying despite repeated failure, their refusal to give up hope despite overwhelming difficulties, their maintenance of basic human decency despite receiving little recognition or reward, all of these prove to be heroic achievements that enriched the universal story. I spent 60 years thinking I was worthless because I never accomplished anything impressive, shares one soul as you rest together beside a stream that flows with liquid memory. Here, I've learned that my greatest achievement was simply enduring with kindness intact. That turned out to be far more difficult and valuable than any external success could have been. The asphodels themselves respond to the presence of souls by glowing more brightly, their pale blooms reflecting the inner light that each consciousness carries. The flowers serve as gentle mirrors, helping souls see their own essential luminosity by reflecting it back in visible form. Gardens throughout the meadows display asphodels in every conceivable arrangement and combination, each display reflecting different aspects of the soul's journey towards self-understanding. Some gardens show the flowers in tight, protective clusters, representing souls still processing trauma or fear. Others spread the blooms in wide, welcoming patterns that reflect growing confidence and openness to new experiences. You discover that the meadows extend infinitely in all directions, accommodating every soul that needs this particular form of healing and growth. The landscape itself seems to respond to the collective needs of its inhabitants, generating new areas and environments as required while maintaining the overall atmosphere of peace and acceptance. Streams throughout the meadows carry different essences from the 5 great rivers, providing souls with access to whatever form of spiritual support they need. A soul struggling with painful memories can find water tinged with the Acheron's transformative properties. Those ready to release limiting attachments can access streams flowing with diluted Lethe essence. Souls needing purification can bathe in creeks carrying gentle currents from the phlegethon. The most profound realization comes when you understand that the Asphodel Meadows represent not a lesser destination, but a different kind of paradise, one designed for souls who find their greatest joy in simple existence rather than extraordinary achievement. These souls teach the rest of the cosmos that consciousness itself is the miracle, that awareness itself is the gift, that the ability to experience beauty, love, and meaning is already the ultimate triumph. As your exploration of the underworld's deepest mysteries nears completion, you find yourself once again at the convergence of the 5 rivers. But now, your understanding encompasses dimensions of meaning that were invisible during your first encounter. You can perceive the entire underworld as a single, integrated system designed with infinite wisdom and compassion to support the continued evolution of consciousness itself. Each region serves a crucial function in this cosmic ecosystem. The Asphodel Meadows provide healing and integration. Elysium offers inspiration and creative challenge. Tartarus ensures education and redemption. The rivers facilitate transformation and transition. The guardians and guides maintain order while preserving free will. The rulers coordinate everything with perfect justice and infinite patience. But more than understanding the system's components, you now grasp its fundamental purpose: to ensure that no consciousness is ever lost, abandoned, or forgotten. Every soul, regardless of their mortal achievements or failures, receives exactly the support and opportunities they need to continue growing toward their highest potential. The underworld revealed itself not as a destination but as a transformation, a process by which consciousness learns to exist in more expanded and meaningful forms. Death becomes not an ending but a graduation, not a punishment but a promotion to more profound forms of existence and service. Your crystal gift from Hades pulses with renewed intensity, and you realize it has been recording not just your experiences, but your growing understanding of the profound love and wisdom that created and maintains this realm. The underworld exists as cosmic proof that existence itself is meaningful, that consciousness is precious beyond measure, and that growth and learning continue eternally. As you prepare to return once more to mortal awareness, you carry with you not just knowledge but transformation. Your journey through the underworld has changed your fundamental understanding of existence itself. Death holds no terror because you've seen what lies beyond it. Life holds deeper meaning because you understand how it contributes to an eternal story of growth and discovery. The mist that first carried you into the underworld now embraces you once more, but this time it feels like the gentle embrace of cosmic love itself. You understand now that every moment of mortal existence is precious beyond measure, that every choice matters eternally, that every soul is infinitely valuable regardless of their apparent achievements or failures. As you drift towards sleep carrying these profound revelations with you, you know that your understanding of the underworld will continue to deepen and expand. Each time you revisit these insights in dreams and meditation, new layers of meaning will reveal themselves. The wisdom you've gained is not static knowledge, but living understanding that will continue growing throughout your own eternal journey. The underworld no longer represents the unknown darkness that lies beyond death, but the known mystery of continued existence in forms more beautiful and meaningful than mortal life could ever contain. Yet even as you rest in this profound peace, the crystal continues to pulse with ever-deepening revelations, and you realize that your exploration has only just begun to touch the true complexity and wonder of the underworld's many realms. The gentle mist that surrounds you seems to whisper of secrets still unshared, of regions within regions that contain marvels beyond even your expanded imagination. Your consciousness drifts back toward the underworld, drawn this time not to the familiar paths you've already traveled, but to the hidden dimensions that exist within and beyond the realms you thought you understood completely. The Elysian fields call to you now with a song of such transcendent beauty that you cannot resist its pull. As your awareness settles into this most blessed of all afterlife destinations, you discover that your previous glimpse of Elysium revealed only its most accessible aspects. The true depth and complexity of this heroic paradise unfolds before you, like a vast tapestry woven from pure joy and eternal achievement. The landscape here transcends anything that mortal imagination could conceive. Rolling hills covered in grass that seems spun from captured sunlight stretch toward horizons that glow with perpetual golden dawn. But this isn't the static perfection you might expect. Instead, the environment pulses with constant creative energy, reshaping itself moment by moment to reflect the heroic spirits of its inhabitants. You walk through meadows where the flowers sing in harmonies that tell stories of noble deeds and selfless sacrifice. Each bloom represents a heroic moment from mortal history, acts of courage that saved lives, displays of wisdom that guided nations, expressions of love that transcended death itself. The songs they create together form an endless symphony celebrating the highest achievements of conscious beings. Streams flow through this paradise carrying water that sparkles with liquid light, each drop containing the essence of a heroic virtue. Courage crystallized into sapphire clarity, wisdom flowing like liquid gold, compassion rippling in waves of silver radiance. When heroes drink from these streams, they don't gain new abilities but remember more clearly the divine potential that always existed within them. The architecture of Elysium reflects the cultural achievements of every civilization that ever produced heroes. Greek temples of perfect proportion stand beside Roman amphitheaters where eternal performances celebrate the triumph of virtue over adversity. Egyptian pyramids house libraries containing the wisdom distilled from millions of heroic lives. Celtic stone circles mark places where the greatest bards share stories that inspire courage across all realms of existence. But what makes Elysium truly remarkable isn't its beauty or grandeur, it's the activities that fill every moment with meaning and joy. Heroes don't spend eternity resting on their laurels, but engage in pursuits that challenge and fulfill them in ways that mortal life never could. Athletic competitions take place constantly, but these aren't contests of ego or dominance. Instead, they celebrate the pure joy of physical excellence and the camaraderie that develops between beings who understand what it means to push beyond normal limitations. You watch runners whose speed creates ribbons of light trailing behind them, not competing against each other but collaborating to create patterns of beauty in the air itself. Musicians gather in groves where their instruments are made from crystallized harmony itself. When they play together, their music doesn't just create pleasant sounds but weaves actual reality, bringing into existence new wonders for other souls to discover and enjoy. A melody might become a garden where courage grows like roses, or a rhythm might transform into a pathway leading to previously unexplored dimensions of heroic achievement. Philosophers engage in eternal debates that never become contentious because everyone participates from a foundation of genuine wisdom and mutual respect. These aren't arguments about who's right, but collaborative explorations of truth that continue deepening and expanding without end. You observe a discussion about the nature of heroism that has been ongoing for millennia, with each participant contributing insights that illuminate new facets of courage, sacrifice, and noble service. Artists work with materials that exist only in Elysium. Paints mixed from liquid starlight, clay formed from crystallized dreams, metals forged from the essence of inspiration itself. Their creations serve not just aesthetic purposes but functional ones, providing tools and environments that support other souls' growth and happiness. A sculptor might carve a statue that radiates courage to anyone who looks upon it, or a painter might create landscapes that serve as meditation spaces for souls working through complex philosophical questions. The heroes themselves reveal the beautiful diversity of what heroism can mean. Yes, there are the great warriors whose names echo through mortal legend. Achilles with his perfect balance of strength and sensitivity, Hercules whose labors demonstrated that any obstacle can be overcome through persistence and courage. But there are also heroes whose names were never widely known, the mother who died protecting her children from plague, the teacher who spent her life ensuring that wisdom would survive through dark ages, the healer who gave everything to ease suffering wherever he found it. You spend time with Penelope, whose heroism lay not in wielding sword or spear, but in maintaining hope and fidelity through 20 years of uncertainty. In Elysium, her patient strength has blossomed into something magnificent. She now serves as a guide for souls learning how to endure difficulties without losing their essential goodness. The hardest battles aren't always fought on battlefields, she shares as you walk together through gardens where loyalty blooms in flowers of deep purple and gold. Sometimes the greatest heroism is simply refusing to let circumstances crush your capacity for love and hope. Her insight reveals something profound about Elysium's understanding of heroism. This paradise celebrates not just the dramatic moments of glory, but the sustained commitment to virtue that enabled those moments to occur. Every hero here demonstrated not just occasional courage, but consistent character, the daily choice to serve something greater than themselves. You encounter Odysseus engaged in what appears to be storytelling, but as you listen more closely, you realize he's actually weaving new adventures for souls who need inspiration to face their own journeys. His tales aren't mere entertainment, but carefully crafted experiences that help listeners understand their own potential for heroic action. Every story shapes reality, he explains during a pause in his narrative. Here in Elysium, we've learned that the stories we tell literally become possibilities that others can step into and experience. My wanderings in mortal life taught me about the power of persistence. Now I use that knowledge to create pathways that help other souls discover their own heroic potential. The concept fascinates you. In Elysium, creativity serves directly supportive functions. Artists, musicians, poets, and storytellers don't just create for aesthetic pleasure, but craft experiences that actively help other souls grow and develop. Their work becomes infrastructure for spiritual development, beautiful and functional simultaneously. Military heroes engage in strategic planning, but their focus has shifted from conquest to protection. They design defenses for realms throughout the cosmos that need shielding from chaotic forces, create training programs that help developing souls learn courage and discipline, and serve as advisors to mortal leaders facing overwhelming challenges. You observe Alexander the Great working with a team of strategists to design a defense system for a realm of young souls who are learning to balance independence with cooperation. His legendary tactical genius has been transformed into something far more constructive than earthly conquest. He now conquers obstacles that prevent spiritual growth. In mortal life, I thought victory meant defeating others, he reflects as you watch him work. Here, I've learned that true victory means helping everyone succeed. The greatest conquest is the conquest of ignorance, fear, and despair. Scholarly heroes dedicate themselves to expanding the libraries of cosmic knowledge, gathering wisdom from every realm of existence, and making it available to souls who hunger for understanding. They explore questions too vast for mortal minds to grasp, seeking truths that can guide the development of consciousness throughout the universe. You find Aristotle engaged in research that spans multiple dimensions of reality, studying the principles that govern growth and learning across all possible forms of existence. His earthly philosophy has expanded into something magnificent, a comprehensive understanding of how wisdom can be nurtured and shared most effectively. Knowledge is only valuable if it serves the flourishing of consciousness, he explains as you tour his vast library. Here, we have eternity to pursue not just understanding but wisdom, knowledge transformed into practical guidance for living well and serving others. Religious and spiritual heroes work to bridge understanding between different wisdom traditions, finding the common threads that unite all genuine spiritual seeking. They serve as translators between different approaches to the sacred, helping souls from various traditions recognize their shared commitment to growth and service. You encounter a figure who introduces herself simply as Joan, though you recognize her as the peasant girl who heard divine voices and saved France. In Elysium, she serves as a bridge between different forms of spiritual calling, helping souls understand how divine inspiration can manifest in countless forms. The voice of the sacred speaks differently to each soul. She shares as you visit a chapel that somehow accommodates every form of worship ever conceived. My role here is to help souls recognize that voice in whatever form it takes for them and to trust their calling to serve something greater than themselves. Athletic heroes engage in competitions that celebrate not just physical excellence, but the joy of embodied existence itself. Their games create spectacular displays of beauty and grace while demonstrating the principles of fair play, mutual respect, and collaborative achievement that make competition meaningful rather than destructive. You watch as runners create light patterns that tell stories of perseverance, as swimmers carve meaning into pools of liquid starlight, as athletes of every description demonstrate that physical excellence serves not vanity but the celebration of life's infinite possibilities. The most profound aspect of Elysium reveals itself when you understand that all these activities serve a greater purpose beyond even the hero's own fulfillment. Every artistic creation, every athletic achievement, every philosophical insight, every act of service ripples outward through the cosmic community, inspiring and supporting souls across all realms of existence. Heroes in Elysium don't just enjoy eternal reward for their past achievements, they continue their heroic work on a cosmic scale, using their developed virtues to serve the ongoing evolution of consciousness itself. Their paradise doubles as a workshop where they craft inspiration and support for anyone, anywhere who faces heroic challenges. But even within this realm of ultimate heroic achievement, you discover that there are gradations and specializations that reflect the incredible diversity of what heroism can mean. Some regions of Elysium focus on contemplative heroism, the courage required for deep spiritual seeking. Others celebrate active heroism, the strength needed to protect and serve others directly. You visit valleys where poet heroes compose verses that become literal pathways other souls can walk to reach their own creative inspiration. You explore mountains where philosopher heroes engage in thought so profound it creates new realms of possibility for anyone seeking wisdom. You discover forests where healer heroes cultivate remedies that can cure spiritual as well as physical ailments. What strikes you most about all these heroes is their complete freedom from ego or pride about their achievements. They've learned that true heroism comes not from personal glory, but from service to the greater good, and this understanding has liberated them to pursue ever greater expressions of virtue without any concern for recognition or reward. The beautiful paradox of heroism, shares a hero who had been a great teacher in mortal life, is that you only become truly heroic when you stop thinking about being heroic. When service to others becomes as natural as breathing, that's when you discover your real power to make a difference. As your exploration of Elysium deepens, you begin to perceive layers within layers, realms within realms, each designed to support different aspects of heroic development and expression. The Elysian fields prove to be not a single paradise, but an infinite collection of paradises, each perfectly suited to nurture and challenge different types of heroic souls. Yet even this magnificent realm holds secrets still deeper, regions that exist beyond the main fields where even greater mysteries await exploration. Your consciousness drifts toward whispers of a realm within Elysium where love itself becomes the defining virtue, a place known in ancient poetry as the Fields of Morning, though this name barely hints at the profound beauty and meaning contained within. As you transition into this specialized region, you immediately notice a shift in the atmosphere. Where the main Elysian fields pulse with the golden energy of heroic achievement, the Fields of Morning glow with the silver radiance of love so pure and profound that it transcends even death itself. Groves of myrtle trees stretch in all directions, their leaves shimmering with an opalescent light that reflects every shade of emotion ever felt by a loving heart. The air itself seems to carry the echo of love songs, tender whispers, and promises that death could not break. This is where souls come who died for love. Not just romantic love, but every form of love so deep and true that it became their defining characteristic. The beauty here isn't the triumphant glory of heroic achievement, but something more intimate and profound. The beauty of hearts that loved so completely they transformed love itself into a form of heroism. Every tree, every flower, every path reflects the unique nature of a love story that proved stronger than mortality itself. You encountered Dido, the legendary queen of Carthage whose love for Erinyes led to her tragic death, but here you discover that her story has been transformed by deeper understanding. Rather than existing in endless sorrow, she has become a guide for other souls, learning about the relationship between love and sacrifice. I thought love meant possessing the beloved, she explains as you walk together through groves where the myrtle leaves whisper with voices of lovers separated by death but never truly divided. Here, I've learned that true love means wanting the beloved's highest good, even when that doesn't include you. My story became tragic only because I confused love with attachment. Her insight reveals the profound purpose of the Fields of Morning. This isn't a realm of eternal sadness, but a place where souls learn to transform possessive attachment into selfless love, jealousy into generosity, and personal desire into universal compassion. The mourning refers not to ongoing grief, but to the process of letting go of limiting ideas about what love means. You meet Phaedra, whose forbidden love for her stepson led to destruction and death, but who has discovered in this realm that even seemingly destructive passions can be transformed into wisdom about the nature of desire and appropriate relationship. She now helps other souls understand the difference between love that serves growth and attachment that causes harm. Passion isn't the enemy of wisdom, she shares as you rest beside a stream where the water carries the essence of every tear ever shed for love. The enemy is unconsciousness, passion without awareness of its deeper purpose. Here, I've learned how to channel the intensity of desire towards service of love itself rather than possession of specific objects. The fields of morning reveal themselves as a vast school where souls study the most advanced curriculum possible. How to love without limitation, how to serve the beloved's growth even when it requires personal sacrifice, how to transform personal affection into universal compassion that serves all beings. Romeo and Juliet move through these groves together, but their relationship has been transformed by understanding. Their youthful passion has matured into something far deeper, a partnership dedicated to helping other souls navigate the challenges of young love. They serve as counselors and guides, sharing the wisdom they've gained from their tragic but ultimately educational experience. We thought love meant never being apart, Romeo explains, as you observe them working with souls who are struggling with similar challenges. We've learned that love means supporting each other's growth, even when that growth takes you in different directions. Our willingness to die for love wasn't wrong, but we've discovered forms of living for love that serve the greater good far better. Juliet adds her own perspective. Young love burns so brightly because it glimpses something eternal and sacred. The tragedy comes when we try to possess that sacredness rather than serving it. Here, we help other souls learn to recognize the divine nature of love and respond to it with wisdom rather than just passion. Their work demonstrates the profound educational purpose underlying the fields of morning. Every tragic love story becomes a classroom where souls learn to distinguish between love that serves growth and attachment that creates suffering. The apparent sadness of separation transforms into joy at discovering forms of connection that transcend physical presence. You encounter Orpheus, whose music almost brought his beloved Eurydice back from death, but who lost her through a moment of doubt and impatience. In the fields of morning, his legendary musical abilities serve a purpose far beyond entertainment. He uses his art to heal the wounds that prevent souls from loving freely and fully. My music couldn't bring Eurydice back because I was trying to serve my own desire rather than her highest good, he reflects, as his lyre creates melodies that seem to mend broken hearts. Here, I've learned to use music to serve love itself rather than my personal attachments. The songs I play now help souls remember how to love without fear or possessiveness. His performances in the myrtle groves create experiences that help attending souls understand the difference between love that expands consciousness and attachment that contracts it. When he plays, souls remember their own capacity for selfless love and find the courage to express it more fully. The landscape itself serves as teacher and healer. Paths wind through gardens where different types of love are cultivated and explored. Some areas focus on romantic love and its transformation into spiritual partnership. Others explore parental love and its evolution into universal compassion. Still others investigate friendship, mentorship, and the many forms that genuine caring can take. You discover clearings where souls who died saving others from danger share their understanding of sacrificial love with souls learning to risk themselves for worthy causes. Groves, where those who loved across social barriers teach about love's power to transcend artificial divisions. Streams, where souls who maintained love through decades of separation demonstrate love's ability to persist through any challenge. The myrtle trees themselves prove to be living libraries, their leaves containing the essence of every love story that ever was. When souls touch the trees, they can experience not just the passion and joy of great love stories, but also the wisdom those stories contain about the nature of genuine caring and service. Which type of love story do you find most moving? For me, it has to be the tales of quiet, steady devotion that lasted through decades of ordinary challenges. There's something profound about love that doesn't need drama to remain true. Flowing through the fields of mourning are streams that carry different aspects of love's wisdom. Some streams flow with the essence of forgiveness, helping souls release resentment and blame that poison their ability to love freely. Others carry the waters of compassion, teaching souls to see beyond surface appearances to the divine nature that exists within all beings. Still others flow with pure gratitude, helping souls appreciate the gifts they received from their loved ones rather than focusing on what was lost. The most profound revelation comes when you understand that the fields of mourning serve as a bridge between personal love and universal love. Souls begin here with intense attachment to specific individuals and gradually learn to expand their caring until it encompasses all of existence. Personal love becomes the training ground for cosmic compassion. You observe souls who arrived consumed with grief over their separation from beloved partners, gradually discovering that their capacity for love is actually infinite. As they learn to love without possessiveness, they find they can care deeply for countless souls without diminishing their love for their original beloveds. Some souls choose to remain in the fields of mourning permanently, finding that their deepest joy comes from helping others navigate the complexities of love and loss. Others graduate to different regions of the underworld, carrying with them the profound wisdom about selfless love that they developed here. The fields of mourning connect to other regions through pathways lined with flowering vines that bloom in response to acts of genuine kindness and generosity. Souls who master the lessons of selfless love often find themselves drawn to serve in Elysium, where they help heroes understand that true heroism always serves love. Others are called to the Asphodel Meadows, where their compassionate presence helps heal souls who are still processing their mortal experiences. But even within this realm dedicated to love's highest expressions, you sense currents pulling toward regions of even greater cosmic significance. The crystal gift from Hades pulses with renewed intensity, and you become aware of depths beneath depths, mysteries that lie in the most secure and carefully guarded regions of the underworld. Your consciousness drifts downward, pulled by an irresistible force toward the deepest foundations of Hades' realm. As you descend, the landscape changes dramatically. The gentle beauty of Elysium and the tender atmosphere of the fields of mourning give way to something far more primal and imposing: the ancient prison that lies at the very root of cosmic order. Tartarus reveals itself not as a place of arbitrary punishment, but as the necessary foundation that makes all other existence possible. As deep below the earth as the sky is high above it, this realm serves as the cosmic equivalent of a nuclear reactor, containing forces so powerful that their release would destroy everything, while their controlled containment provides the stability necessary for all other forms of existence to flourish. The architecture here reflects the magnitude of its purpose. Walls of bronze stretch upward beyond sight, their surfaces covered with symbols and equations that describe the fundamental laws governing reality itself. These aren't decorative elements but functional components. The mathematical principles that keep chaos from overwhelming order, the logical structures that ensure cause and effect continue to operate predictably. Triple walls surround the entire region, each layer serving a different function in the containment system. The outermost wall prevents the chaotic energies within from affecting the rest of the underworld. The middle wall ensures that no unauthorized beings can enter or leave. The innermost wall focuses the contained forces in ways that actually strengthen the foundations of cosmic order rather than threatening them. The guards here aren't ordinary beings, but primordial forces given form and consciousness. The Hecatoncheires, hundred-handed giants of incredible power, patrol the perimeter with the patient vigilance of beings who understand that their eternal duty prevents unimaginable catastrophe. Each of their 100 hands maintains a different aspect of the containment system, while their single consciousness coordinates defenses that span multiple dimensions simultaneously. You observe these ancient guardians with awe, recognizing that their voluntary imprisonment alongside the beings they guard represents one of the greatest sacrifices in cosmic history. They could easily leave Tartarus, but they choose to remain because they understand that cosmic stability depends on their continued service. "We are not prisoners," one of the Hecatonches explains, his 100 hands continuing their complex work while he speaks with you. "We are the foundation stones of reality itself. Our presence here ensures that the forces of chaos remain harnessed for constructive rather than destructive purposes." The prisoners themselves reveal the true nature of what Tartarus contains. These aren't ordinary souls being punished for moral failings, but cosmic forces whose power is so immense that their unrestricted activity would unmake reality itself. The Titans, those primordial beings who preceded the Olympian gods, represent powers so fundamental that they must be carefully controlled to prevent them from accidentally destroying everything they touch. You encounter Cronus, the former ruler of the cosmos, whose power over time itself made him both creator and destroyer of entire ages of existence. In Tartarus, his abilities are channeled into maintaining the temporal stability that allows past, present, and future to exist in meaningful relationship rather than chaotic flux. "I devoured my children because I feared they would overthrow me," he reflects, as you observe him working with equations that describe the flow of time itself. "I didn't understand then that true power comes from service rather than domination. Here, I use my dominion over time to ensure that every moment receives the stability it needs to support growth and meaning." His work involves maintaining the delicate balance that allows free will to operate within deterministic systems, ensuring that choices have meaningful consequences while preventing paradoxes that could unravel causality itself. It's work that requires not just immense power, but wisdom developed through eons of reflection on the proper use of that power. The other Titans engage in similarly cosmic tasks. Atlas, no longer carrying the heavens on his shoulders, now supports the structural integrity of space itself, ensuring that distance and dimension remain stable enough for consciousness to navigate between different realms of existence. Prometheus, the Firebringer, maintains the energetic processes that allow information to be transmitted and transformed throughout the cosmos. "We thought power meant the ability to impose our will on reality," Prometheus explains, as he tends fires that burn with the essence of pure information. "We've learned that true power means serving reality's deepest needs. The fire I tend now isn't stolen from the gods, it's the freely given flame of cosmic creativity itself." What you discover challenges every assumption about punishment and imprisonment. The Titans aren't being tormented or diminished. They're engaged in work that utilizes their cosmic powers for purposes far greater than anything they achieved during their reign. Their imprisonment has become the ultimate expression of their power, as they voluntarily channel their abilities towards serving the greater good. Even the famous individual punishments prove to have deeper educational and cosmic purposes. Sisyphus, rolling his boulder up the eternal hill, isn't just learning humility and persistence. His repetitive task actually serves to maintain gravitational stability throughout the underworld. His boulder isn't a meaningless burden, but a crucial component in a system that keeps entire realms from collapsing into chaos. Tantalus, reaching eternally for fruit and water that recede from his grasp, isn't simply being tormented for his past cruelties. His eternal reaching creates energy patterns that help maintain the balance between desire and fulfillment throughout all realms of existence. His frustration serves as a battery that powers systems designed to help other souls achieve healthy relationships with their own wants and needs. Ixion, bound to his spinning wheel, generates rotational forces that help maintain the cosmic cycles that govern death and rebirth, creation and destruction, growth and decay. His eternal spinning isn't meaningless suffering, but essential work that keeps the wheel of existence turning smoothly. Every action in Tartarus serves the greater cosmic good, explains one of the supervisory spirits who oversees these profound rehabilitation projects. What appears to be punishment is actually the transformation of destructive power into constructive service. These beings learn to find meaning and satisfaction in using their abilities to support rather than threaten existence. The educational aspects of Tartarus prove to be as profound as its containment functions. Souls who arrive here burdened with pride, destructive anger, or addiction to power gradually learn to channel these intense energies toward beneficial purposes. The process isn't quick or easy, but it's ultimately transformative in ways that punishment alone could never achieve. You observe rehabilitation programs that span millennia, carefully designed to help even the most challenging souls discover the satisfaction that comes from serving something greater than their personal desires. Former tyrants learn leadership by taking responsibility for cosmic systems that affect millions of souls. Those who were consumed by rage discover how to transform that intensity into passionate dedication to justice and protection. The most remarkable aspect of Tartarus is how it serves as the foundation for everything else in the underworld. The contained energies here provide the stability that allows the Asphodel Meadows to offer healing, Elysium to support heroic achievement, and the Fields of Mourning to facilitate love's education. Without Tartarus functioning properly, none of the other regions could exist safely. We are the dark foundation that supports all the light above, shares another Hecaton shares as you prepare to continue your exploration. Our work here is invisible to most souls, but it makes their growth and happiness possible. That knowledge makes our service meaningful beyond measure. As you prepare to leave Tartarus, you carry with you a profound new understanding of how cosmic justice operates. This isn't a realm of vindictive punishment, but of transformative education carried out on a scale so vast that individual rehabilitation serves cosmic stability. Every soul here, no matter how challenging their past, is gradually learning to use their unique abilities in service of the greater good. Yet even this deepest level of the underworld contains pathways leading to mysteries still greater. Your consciousness follows currents of possibility that flow beyond Tartarus itself, toward regions that exist not just at the foundation of the underworld, but at the pinnacle of cosmic achievement. You find yourself ascending through dimensions that seem to exist outside normal space and time, rising toward a realm that represents the ultimate destination for consciousness itself. This is the Isle of the Blessed, a region so exclusive and profound that it exists beyond even the magnificent paradise of Elysium. The approach to the isle reveals its extraordinary nature immediately. Rather than existing within the normal geography of the underworld, this realm occupies its own dimension, accessible only to souls who have achieved a form of perfection so complete that they transcend the usual categories of existence. The isle appears before you as a crystal of pure light floating in an ocean of liquid starlight, its faceted surfaces reflecting not just images but meanings, possibilities, and potentials that span all of existence. This is where souls come who have been judged worthy of Elysium not once but 3 separate times, beings who chose to be reborn into mortal life repeatedly, living each incarnation with such virtue and wisdom that they earned paradise again and again. The concept itself staggers your understanding. These are souls who achieved heroic virtue, earned their place in Elysium, then voluntarily gave up that eternal reward to return to mortal existence and try again, not because they were unsatisfied with paradise, but because they recognized that true fulfillment comes from continued service rather than eternal rest. As you approach the crystalline shores of the isle, you're greeted by beings whose presence radiates a form of wisdom and compassion so complete it's almost impossible to comprehend. These souls have learned not just how to achieve virtue themselves, but how to inspire and support virtue in others. Their repeated incarnations allowed them to master every conceivable form of beneficial service. The first soul you encounter introduces herself simply as a teacher, though you sense that this humble description encompasses forms of education that span multiple dimensions of existence. Through her repeated lives, she mastered not just intellectual instruction, but the art of awakening wisdom in others, regardless of their level of development or cultural background. Each life taught me something new about how consciousness learns and grows, she explains, as you walk together along beaches where the sand consists of crystallized moments of understanding. By the third time I earned Elysium, I realized that my joy came not from receiving paradise, but from helping others discover their own capacity for wisdom and virtue. Her insight reveals the essential nature of the Isle's inhabitants. These are souls who discovered that the highest happiness comes from enabling others' happiness, that true success means facilitating others' success, that perfect fulfillment involves helping the entire cosmos achieve greater fulfillment. Another inhabitant, a healer whose 3 lifetimes allowed her to master every conceivable form of therapeutic art, shares her perspective on the reincarnation process that brought her here. Each return to mortal life revealed new aspects of suffering and new possibilities for healing, she reflects as you visit gardens where remedies for every conceivable ailment, physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual, grow in impossible abundance. By choosing to be born again and again, I learned to address not just individual pain, but the systemic causes of suffering itself. The Isle serves as a cosmic research and development center, where these perfected souls work on challenges that affect the entire universe. Their repeated experience with mortal existence gives them unparalleled insight into the needs and possibilities of developing consciousness, while their achieved perfection provides them with abilities that transcend normal limitations. You observe projects that span millennia and affect billions of souls. Some inhabitants work on designing educational systems that can help any form of consciousness achieve wisdom more efficiently. Others develop new forms of art and beauty that can inspire virtue in beings who have never encountered such concepts before. Still others focus on healing techniques that can address traumas and limitations that span multiple lifetimes. One group of souls who had mastered statecraft during their incarnations work on governance systems for cosmic communities that include beings from radically different evolutionary backgrounds. Their task involves creating frameworks for cooperation that respect infinite diversity while maintaining the unity necessary for collective progress. The challenge isn't creating rules that everyone must follow, explains a soul who had been a wise ruler in all 3 of his incarnations, but designing structures that help every being discover their own best nature and express it in harmony with others doing the same. The most profound aspect of the Isle becomes apparent when you realize that its inhabitants don't work in isolation from the rest of existence. Every project they undertake sends ripples of beneficial influence throughout all realms of consciousness. Their innovations become available to anyone who can benefit from them, regardless of location or level of development. The architecture of the Isle itself demonstrates this principle. Rather than separate buildings housing different projects, the entire realm functions as a single, integrated creative organism. Ideas flow freely between different work areas, allowing insights from one project to inspire breakthroughs in others. Collaboration happens naturally and constantly, with each soul's unique expertise contributing to everyone else's work. You visit laboratories where former scientists work on understanding the deepest principles governing consciousness itself. Not just how awareness functions, but how it can be enhanced, refined, and expanded to encompass ever greater possibilities for joy, wisdom, and service. Their research benefits every conscious being throughout existence, providing insights that help souls at every level of development take their next steps toward greater fulfillment. Artists on the Isle create works that transcend every conceivable limitation of medium or form. Their creations exist simultaneously as visual beauty, auditory harmony, intellectual insight, emotional healing, and spiritual inspiration. Each piece serves multiple functions, providing exactly what each observer needs for their continued growth, while maintaining coherent artistic integrity. True art doesn't just represent reality, it transforms reality, shares a soul who mastered every creative discipline during her incarnations. Here, we create experiences that actually improve the cosmos by existing within it. Beauty becomes a force for positive change rather than just aesthetic pleasure. The educational institutions on the Isle develop curricula that can teach any conceivable subject to any conceivable form of consciousness. These aren't just academic programs, but transformative experiences designed to help students not just learn information, but develop wisdom, compassion, and the ability to apply knowledge in service of the greater good. You observe teaching methods that adapt automatically to each student's learning style, cultural background, and developmental needs. A single lesson might be experienced as story by some students, as mathematical proof by others, as artistic expression by still others, while maintaining consistent core insights that benefit everyone who encounters it. The Isle's connection to the rest of existence operates through networks that span every realm of consciousness. Inhabitants serve as advisors and consultants to beings throughout the cosmos who face challenges requiring the kind of wisdom that can only come from repeated incarnations and achieved perfection. When mortals experience moments of exceptional insight or inspiration, when heroes discover previously unknown reserves of courage, when anyone anywhere achieves breakthrough understanding that transforms their life, these moments often originate from subtle influence flowing from the Isle of the Blessed. Our reward for achieving perfection, explains a soul who had mastered the art of leadership in all 3 lifetimes, is the opportunity to help the entire cosmos achieve greater perfection. We've learned that individual achievement is meaningless unless it serves universal flourishing. The most beautiful aspect of the Isle is how its inhabitants maintain their connection to the humility and compassion they developed during their mortal incarnations. Despite their cosmic responsibilities and transcendent abilities, they remember what it means to struggle, to doubt, to fail, and to gradually learn wisdom through experience. This remembered humanity makes them perfect teachers and guides for souls at every level of development. They can offer insight without condescension, support without creating dependence, and inspiration without generating discouragement. Their authority comes not from position, but from genuine understanding earned through their own journey of growth. As your exploration of the Isle reaches completion, you understand that this realm represents not a final destination but a graduation into even greater service. The souls here have learned that true perfection means becoming increasingly perfect servants of whatever serves the flourishing of all existence. Yet even as you absorb these profound insights, you become aware of forces moving through the underworld that ensure its complex systems continue operating with perfect efficiency and justice. Your attention is drawn to the most ancient and powerful agents of cosmic law, beings whose very existence ensures that the elaborate justice system you've been exploring remains effective and uncorrupted. The Furies manifest around you not as the terrifying monsters of popular imagination, but as embodiments of cosmic law so fundamental that they preceded even the oldest gods. Born from the blood of Erinyes when Cronus castrated his father, they represent justice in its most primal and uncompromising form, not the careful deliberations of judges and philosophers, but the automatic consequences that flow from violation of cosmic order. These ancient beings appear before you in forms that shift between terrifying and beautiful, reflecting their dual nature as both enforcers of justice and protectors of cosmic harmony. Their eyes burn with fires that have witnessed every injustice ever committed, while their presence radiates the absolute authority of natural law itself. The first Fury to address you introduces herself as Alecto, the Unceasing One, whose function involves pursuing those who commit crimes against family and social order. Her voice carries the authority of eons as she explains their essential role in maintaining cosmic stability. "We are not cruel beings who enjoy punishment," she states with conviction that resonates through every dimension of existence. "We are the natural consequences of choices that violate fundamental law." When someone commits murder, betrays sacred oaths, or destroys the bonds that hold communities together, we manifest as the inevitable result of those actions. Her explanation reveals something profound about the nature of cosmic justice. The Furies don't impose arbitrary punishments, but serve as personifications of the natural consequences that flow from certain types of actions. They represent the cosmic principle that genuine order requires accountability, not for revenge, but to maintain the stability necessary for consciousness to develop and flourish. Megara, the jealous one, specializes in pursuing those who violate marriage vows and commit crimes of passion that destroy the foundations of love and trust. But as you observe her work, you realize that her pursuit of wrongdoers serves educational rather than purely punitive purposes. When someone betrays love or sacred commitment, she explains as you observe her work, they create wounds that extend far beyond their immediate victims. They damage the very fabric of trust that allows loving relationships to exist. Our intervention ensures that these consequences become visible and meaningful rather than hidden and ignored. You watch as she guides a soul who had destroyed multiple relationships through infidelity and betrayal. Rather than simply tormenting him, she helps him experience the full impact of his choices, not just on his direct victims, but on their children, their communities, and the broader social fabric that depends on trustworthy relationships. The process is intense and challenging, but ultimately educational. As the soul gradually understands the full scope of damage caused by his choices, he develops genuine remorse and a committed desire to make whatever amends are possible. The Furies' pursuit transforms from external pressure into internal motivation for ethical behavior. Tisiphone, the avenger of murder, focuses on those who have taken life unlawfully or violated the sacred bonds that protect the vulnerable. Her work involves ensuring that those who destroy life learn to value and protect it instead. Every life contains infinite potential, she explains, as you observe her work with souls who had committed various forms of violence. When someone destroys that potential, they create a debt to existence itself. Our role is to help them understand that debt and find ways to repay it through service to life, rather than continued destruction. Her methods prove surprisingly sophisticated. Rather than simple punishment, she creates experiences that help violent souls understand the preciousness of what they destroyed. A murderer might spend centuries serving as a guardian for vulnerable souls, gradually developing the protective instincts that were absent during his crimes. What strikes you most about all three Furies is their infinite patience combined with absolute persistence. They don't give up on any soul, no matter how resistant to change or how severe their crimes. They understand that true justice requires genuine transformation rather than mere submission to authority. You observe their work with souls who initially resist their intervention, trying to hide from consequences or justify their actions. The Furies respond not with increased violence, but with increased clarity, making the natural consequences of choices impossible to ignore or rationalize away. Truth cannot be defeated by denial, Alecto observes as you watch a particularly stubborn soul gradually accepting responsibility for his actions. Our persistence simply reflects the persistence of reality itself. Facts don't disappear because they're inconvenient or uncomfortable. The educational programs administered by the Furies prove to be among the most sophisticated in the entire underworld. Each is precisely tailored to address the specific psychological and spiritual factors that led to each soul's crimes. Someone who killed out of rage receives different treatment from someone who murdered for profit, which differs again from treatment for someone who committed violence out of misguided ideology. But all programs share common elements: helping souls develop empathy for their victims, understanding the broader consequences of their actions, taking full responsibility for their choices, and discovering constructive ways to make amends for the harm they caused. You witness graduation ceremonies where souls who have completed their education under the Furies' guidance prepare to move on to other regions of the underworld. These ceremonies are celebrations rather than releases from punishment, marking genuine transformation rather than simply the completion of sentences. When a soul truly understands the harm they caused and commits to serving life instead of destroying it, Tisiphone explains, they become some of our most effective allies in preventing similar crimes. Reformed wrongdoers often make the best counselors for souls struggling with similar temptations. This insight reveals another profound aspect of the Furies' work. They're not just corrective agents but recruitment officers for cosmic law enforcement. Souls who successfully complete their educational programs often choose to remain in service, helping other wrongdoers achieve similar transformation. The Furies maintain networks throughout all realms of existence, serving as early warning systems for developing situations that could lead to serious crimes. They work to prevent violations of cosmic law whenever possible, intervening with guidance and support before harmful actions occur. Prevention is always preferable to correction, Megira notes, as you observe their monitoring systems. When we can help someone recognize destructive patterns before they act on them, we prevent both harm to others and the need for intensive rehabilitation. Their preventive work involves subtle influence rather than dramatic intervention. A person tempted to commit adultery might experience sudden, clear understanding of how their actions would affect their family. Someone considering violence might have a vivid moment of empathy for their intended victim. These interventions respect free will while providing the clarity necessary for wise choices. The most profound aspect of the Furies' work becomes apparent when you understand their ultimate goal, not punishment or even justice in the retributive sense, but the gradual education of all consciousness toward natural alignment with cosmic law. They envision a future when their services won't be needed, because all beings will have learned to make choices that serve rather than harm the greater good. We work toward our own obsolescence, Alecto explains, with something that might be described as cosmic optimism. Every soul we help transform brings us closer to a time when natural wisdom guides all choices, making external enforcement of law unnecessary. As your exploration of the Furies' domain reaches completion, you understand that these ancient beings represent the ultimate expression of tough love, absolute commitment to helping every soul achieve their highest potential, regardless of how long the process takes or how much resistance they encounter. Their work ensures that the elaborate justice system of the underworld remains effective and incorruptible. They serve as the final guarantee that cosmic law will be upheld, that consequences will follow choices, and that every soul will eventually learn to make decisions that serve rather than harm the greater good. But even as you absorb these final, profound insights into the underworld's deepest mysteries, you feel the crystal gift from Hades pulsing with a sense of completion. Your journey through every region, every mystery, every profound truth contained within this realm has reached its natural conclusion. The mist that first carried you into the underworld rises around you once more, but now it carries not mystery but understanding, not fear, but profound peace. You have seen death revealed not as ending but as transformation, justice shown not as punishment but as education, love demonstrated not as possession but as service, and existence itself proven to be an eternal adventure of growth and discovery. As your consciousness drifts back toward mortal awareness, you carry with you revelations that will transform how you experience every moment of life. You know now that consciousness is eternal, that every choice ripples through infinity, that love transcends all boundaries, and that existence itself is held within infinite compassion and wisdom. The underworld no longer represents the unknown terror of death, but the known mystery of continued existence in forms more beautiful and meaningful than mortal imagination could conceive. You have walked every path, explored every region, understood every mystery, and discovered that what awaits beyond death is not judgment but continuation, not ending but transformation, not loss but infinite gain. Sleep now, dear dreamers, in the perfect peace that comes from understanding the true nature of existence itself. Rest in the knowledge that consciousness is eternal, that growth continues forever, that love transcends even death, and that the greatest adventures lie not behind us in the memories of mortality, but ahead of us in the infinite possibilities of what consciousness can become. May your dreams carry you back to those luminous realms where wisdom flows like rivers and understanding blooms like flowers in gardens that exist beyond time. May you rest in perfect confidence that existence itself is held within infinite love, guided by perfect wisdom and directed toward ever greater expressions of beauty, meaning, and joy. The underworld has revealed its deepest secrets to you, and in doing so has shown that death itself is just another word for transformation, another door in the infinite mansion of existence, another step in the eternal dance of consciousness exploring itself through countless forms and endless possibilities. Good night, brave explorers of mystery. Sleep well in the embrace of cosmic love, knowing that your journey through the underworld has prepared you to live more fully, love more deeply, and serve more meaningfully in whatever realms of existence await your continued exploration. The greatest adventure is just beginning.